NBC Sports proudly presents exclusive coverage of the Bowl Championship Series.
During the next 3 days, the nation's elite programs and marquee players will compete in the Bowl Championship Series. Friday night in the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl National Championship game, #1 Miami, behind Heisman finalists Willis McGahee and Ken Dorsey, look to extend their 34-game winning streak against #2 ranked 13-0 Ohio State. A Hurricanes win would secure their standing as one of the greatest dynasties the sport has ever seen. Tomorrow night in the FedEx Orange Bowl, it's the Heisman Trophy winner, USC's Carson Palmer, against Heisman Trophy runner-up Iowa's Brad Banks. It's a classic Big Ten, Pac-10 matchup, but this time the co-champions from each conference meet in South Florida. Later tonight in the Nokia Sugar Bowl, the Georgia Bulldogs make their long-anticipated return to New Orleans. Their opponent, ACC champion Florida State, and their legendary leader, Bobby Bowden. But we begin the BCS with the Rose Bowl game presented by PlayStation 2, which for the first time welcomes Oklahoma. Laying in wait for the Sooner invasion is Washington State's record-setting quarterback, Jason Gesser. It's West Coast finesse against Big 12 brawn in the granddaddy of all bowl games. 4 games, 3 days, 2 undefeated teams, 1 national champion.
And Bob Stoops knows all about that national championship trophy. He's hoisted it as head coach of Oklahoma. Mike Price, of course, this will be his final game after what seems like a lifetime at Washington State. Jason Gesser, he must depend on him.
Well, Mike Price, it's good that he can be on the field today, but it is critical that Jason Gesser get on that field because he's a great passer. Oklahoma lost 2 football games. In those 2, they gave 8 touchdown passes. Jason Gesser, a great deep ball thrower, and he has 3 marvelous receivers to throw it to.
And the Oklahoma Sooners right now are a team that is just happy to be in this game for one reason. They've never been there before. They're very fired up, and Washington State has to look out for that. Our guys who will call the game, Brent Musburger and Gary Danielson.
All right, John, thank you very much. It is a Chamber of Commerce day in Pasadena, California. In other words, folks, perfect weather here today. Happy New Year, everybody. I'm Brent Musburger. Oklahoma is so happy to be here. Washington State, as John told you, they've got a coaching story. Mike Price is leaving for Alabama after this game. Bill Doba, his longtime assistant, takes over. But we asked Mike, why stay and coach the Cougars in a Rose Bowl?
But I'm putting my neck out there on the line. But I'm not doing it for the fans. I'm not doing it for the media. I'm not doing it for the money. I'm not doing it for anything other than the players. I, in my opinion, and the players' opinion, and the assistant coach's opinion, think it's in our best interest if I coach the game. And it is.
Well, Happy New Year to you too, Gary. And what about the impact on this game of Mike Price leaving?
Early and all through the practice, I don't think any. But remember, Washington State has come from behind in every game but one. And they're going to have a beast in this game because athletes don't like to blame themselves, and they got a built-in excuse. Something they're going to have to fight all game, and Mike Price must deal with that.
The other Cougar story, the injury suffered by Jason Gesser. Jack Arute caught up with the Washington State quarterback as he stepped off the bus.
Last time you came into this stadium was about a month ago, and you were only at about 40% with a knee and an ankle. What about today?
I'm about 80%. I'm about twice as what I was last time. So I'm trying to do twice as much as I did last time I came to the stadium.
Jason, thanks.
No problem.
So, Gary, how does that impact the offense?
Critical. He must stay there because the run game from under center, you have to have those good feet, and that quickness of the Oklahoma defense must be countered with a run game.
Right now, let's send you back to John and Terry.
All right, guys, we'll rejoin you in a moment looking at that game. Now, Terry, obviously Mike Price is going to Alabama. He made the decision to stay his part. You've been in a position like that where you had to leave your team. It's difficult on you coaches to do that.
It sure is. There's not always a best thing to do, and it's sometimes best to move on. But in this case, him staying and bringing his assistants and keeping them there, they're able to keep and maintain the game plan and the status of that situation.
Yeah, everybody wanted them there. That's the point. Everybody should put out. The players and the other coaches wanted them there. Elsewhere today, the Capital One just seen today on ABC. And boy, Auburn against Penn State. This one was a classic defensive battle. Ronnie Brown here goes 17 yards. He had 37 carries, 184 yards, and 2 touchdowns. In the Gator, Notre Dame against NC State. Phillip Rivers had a great day.
He sure did. He's really great throwing the football against Notre Dame. Notre Dame's defense just on the field too long because their offense can't generate anything. You give Phillip Rivers that many at-bats, he's going to throw some touchdown passes.
Chris Sims, he's in the Cotton Bowl. Not too many fond memories there, but this is final college game. 51 yards to Roy Williams. Sims was 15 of 28 for 269 yards and 2 touchdowns to win over LSU. In the Outback, Michigan. Boy, a great job they did against Florida. Chris Perry, mainly with 4 touchdown runs.
Well, when Michigan runs the ball well like this, they're going to win football games. And it also goes back to John Thompson, defensive quarterback for Florida. He took a new job, stayed, and was not able to have a good game plan.
And the Big Ten now 4-1 in bowl games, heading out to the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl, Ohio State and Miami.
Call now and you can own a copy of the official Rose Bowl game program from today's game. It's the same one sold at the game, and it makes a terrific souvenir. Call 1-800-769-8843. Call 1-800-769-8843 now.
Representing the other 2 marshals of the game, Art Linkletter and Bill Cosby. And this year's queen is Alexandra Vucetich. And today's national anthem on cue.
We say Happy New Year to all of you. 3 simple words that we say at the beginning of every season, but those 3 words will never be the same for this young man, DeVard Darling. Almost 2 years ago, lost his twin brother, Devon. He starts every year in every football game with his brother on his mind, who he lost on a football field due to a heart ailment at Florida State, as I mentioned, almost 2 years ago.
Sometimes I just wake up in the middle of the night and just start crying. I still can't believe that he's not here with me.
I didn't want to believe what I was hearing. To really be hit with that kind of news is just unbelievable.
This time I must confirm that Devon Darling, freshman linebacker from Houston, Texas, was pronounced dead at 8:37 a.m. today by attending physicians in the emergency room at Tallahassee Memorial Hospital.
On February 26, 2001, 18-year-old Devon Darling died and left behind an identical twin, DeVard. The Darling brothers grew up inseparable and with a passion for football. When the time came, there was never a question whether they'd go to the same school. The only question was where. Soon the twins would call Florida State home.
I remember the first kickoff of the first game, you know, I just looked across and he looked back at me and just gave me that smile. And we just started smiling, you know, and had that feeling like we were finally here.
Devon and DeVard were enjoying their freshman year at Florida State when one would be stripped from the other. DeVard hardly had time to grieve when the news came that Florida State would no longer allow him to play for fear that he too would share his brother's fate. A devastated DeVard asked for his release.
It was like going through the whole recruiting process all over again. And then, you know, I had this thing over my head, oh, Florida State didn't clear him, why should we clear him?
You know, if somebody tell you can't do something and you just believe that, it's just like going to the doctor and he said, well, hey, you only got 6 months to live. I mean, you're gonna just sit down and die?
School after school passed on a discouraged but persistent DeVard until the call came from the unlikeliest of places, Washington State.
Felt like they just took the monkey off my back, you know, and, you know, tears of joy just start coming down my eyes. You know, I was finally going to be able to go back on the field and strive to accomplish our goals that we set for each other.
Thousands of miles from home, with a tribute to his brother tattooed on his arm and his picture tucked in his jersey, DeVard once again stepped on the football field, paying homage to Devon each time he reaches the end zone.
I'm so happy to see him out there playing again, and you feel like he's living again.
Once I step out on that field, it just makes me feel better, knowing that I'm out there doing what we want to do, doing what we love to do. I know he's smiling down on me, you know, that's why I give it up to him every time, you know, 2 beats to the chest and point up to the skies. 2 hearts beating as one.
Inspiring story, and keep in mind, Florida State had an investigation, the coroner as well, and to this day, they're not sure exactly what happened to Devon. They just know his heart stopped, no real reason for it, and because of that, it was taken out of your father's hand on how he could handle it.
Yeah, still, it was probably the most devastating experience he's had to go through in all his career. But you got to think about this young man. I've got a brother. I've got 3 brothers. I played football with my brother. Could I respond like that? Yep. Incredible experience response for DeVar Darling.
Both his mother and DeVar himself, the strength is incredible. Of course, the Rose Bowl is coming up, and when you go to the Rose Bowl, Brent, you got to visit Disney without question.
Washington State and Oklahoma taking a break from their practice schedules and visiting Disneyland during their stay here in the Los Angeles area. Players showed no fear. They went on some of the more fun and exciting rides the Disney theme park has to offer. All in all, it was a fun experience.
It was fun, you know, I mean, to get up there, and I didn't think that that many people were going to be here, and all the cameras and everything, and you know, and all the characters came up there, and they were singing and dancing and all kinds of stuff. It was good fun.
Disneyland's just an incredible place, so I'm glad they get to experience it for a day. We've got a lot of young children on our staff as well that'll be enjoying it, so it's great.
Nothing looks better than the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California on New Year's Day. And our Rose Bowl game is presented by PlayStation 2. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Brent Musburger. Well, Washington State was here about 5 years ago, but for Oklahoma, this is their first trip ever to the Rose Bowl. I can't tell you how excited the players and the staff have been. In fact, even back in Oklahoma, it is the talk of the entire state. A program that's won 7 national titles and 22 bowls, Oklahoma has a chance to add a new trophy to its storied case.
There's a lot of championship trophies in our building. We've never played in the Rose Bowl. You can bet our guys know they want to win it and want to get that trophy.
Once in a lifetime deal. I mean, it's a chance for us to bring back something unique to Norman that we don't have. It's real special.
Though it's Oklahoma's first trip to Pasadena, 4 members of the Sooner coaching staff, including brothers Bob and Mike Stoops, played in Rose Bowls as Iowa Hawkeyes, but they never took home the trophy.
I think ultimately everybody wants to win a Rose Bowl. It's great to get there, and it was great when we were at Iowa. But to win the game is what you play for, is the prize and the trophy, and that's what we're going to try to do.
I'm excited to pull our bus into the stadium and pulling in there on a sunny day and getting ready to compete. That is one of the best moments before the game.
I just can't wait personally to step into the Rose Bowl and just feel that turf and see the stands. Coach Stoops was telling us today, fellas, I mean, it's going to be one of the trivia questions 50 years from now, you know, who won that first or maybe only Rose Bowl that Oklahoma ever played in, and we want to say that we did.
Oklahoma with all that tradition, Gary, yet there is something very special about the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, you know, Brent, you're talking to a Midwest kid who grew up playing football, and we selfishly thought that was our dream growing up, and now we're proud to say that I guess that's all of college football's dream. I guess no matter how much college football changes, the great tradition of the Rose Bowl will always be here.
Exactly, and I guess today, Gary, we could call this Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, if you will. He is one of our 3 grand marshals, and he will represent Art Linkletter and Bill Cosby at the beginning of the football game. This year's queen is Alexandra Vucetic. And the Oklahoma band is down in the middle of the field, and you can see that our B-2 stealth bomber is beginning, and you can see the support planes that are coming in because the flyover will be performed by the stealth as the air show continues up above. That will precede some up-to-date planes, and today's national anthem is being performed by the Pride of Oklahoma Marching Band. The stage is set. Washington State and Oklahoma. They'll play for all the roses.
No flags behind him. It's touchdown. Gives it to Nancy in the middle. She swings. She got it going. Regional champions. We're going to see.
And good execution by Oklahoma.
The Texas Longhorns are national champions.
And the winner is Eric Crouch, University of Nebraska.
The first man in the history of athletic competition to go undefeated, never a loss.
The University of Oklahoma is on the move. Among public universities, OU ranks at the top in National Merit Scholars enrolled per capita, and the top 5 in Rhodes Scholars graduated, and has almost tripled the number of endowed professorships in just 6 years. OU is home to a new natural history museum, the largest of its kind in the world at a university. And OU's Art Museum just received the single most important gift of art to a public university in U.S. history. Keep your eye on the University of Oklahoma, setting the pace for excellence.
The characteristic equation of this
At Washington State University, we focus 100% on world-class academics. Even during football season. Washington State University, world class, face to face.
ABC Sports proudly presents Game 1 in our exclusive coverage of the Bowl Championship Series.
A little less than a month ago in this very stadium, a battered and bruised Washington State quarterback Jason Gesser showed the country how special he was, turning in a courageous performance against UCLA and earning Washington State a trip to the Rose Bowl. That game symbolized Gesser's college career. Painful injuries could not stop him from shredding the school record book. But today, the Washington State signal caller and his high-flying offense will be looking down the teeth of one of the country's hardest-hitting defenses. The Oklahoma Sooners are writing another chapter to their storied history by making their first Rose Bowl appearance. The Sooners arrive in Pasadena armed with a pair of defensive All-Americans in Tommy Harris and Teddy Lehman, cut from the same mold of Leroy Selman and Brian Bosworth. This attacking Sooner defense will be put to the test by a Cougar aerial assault, hoping for their first Rose Bowl victory in 87 years. Offensively, the Sooners turn to their elusive playmaker, Quentin Griffin, whose breakaway speed and tough inside running could give the Washington State defensive front fits all day. Today, in the granddaddy of all bowl games, it is the Pac-10 versus the Big 12 as Oklahoma and Washington State meet for all the roses. The Washington State Cougars, co-champions with USC, but they earned their way into this game by beating the Trojans in overtime, 30-27. They come here with a record of 10-2. Go down below now to Jackaroo. Jack, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Brent. This could be a first for Rose Bowl. Let's talk for about Bill Doba over here. Will be the new coach, as you said, but Mike Price is the coach right now. So, guys, when it comes down to 4th and 1, who makes the call?
He does.
He does. Brent, seriously, I don't think things are going to change. It's all going to be all about Mike Price calling it today. Brent?
All right, Jack. It doesn't get any better than that cut right there. You bet. Come down to the 4th quarter and have that call. And now, here come the Sooners, the champions of the Big 12 Conference. 11 go down now to referee Steve Shaw for the coin toss.
On the other side is the Washington State logo representing you gentlemen. Mr. Fred Rogers is here today, and he's going to do the honors of flipping our coin. He will let it hit the ground, and the team's logo that is up will win the toss. Mr. Rogers, would you do us the honor? Great job, Mr. Rogers. Washington State, you have won the toss. Mr. Thomas, our coin.
Cougars defer, and the Sooners will take the football with the first possession, and let's go down below to Jackaroo.
Bob Stoops, I know you've been here before as a player. This is the first time, though, as a coach, and this Washington State offense, it can give teams fits, especially going with the long ball.
Yeah, we played it well in 11 other games to help us win the Big 12 championship. Hopefully we'll play it well tonight and help us win a Rose Bowl championship. That's what we're counting on.
Good luck, Coach.
All right, thanks.
Jack, thank you very much. Well, Gary Danielson, you finally, the Purdue man makes it to the Rose Bowl.
Now, be careful. I was responsible for 3 teams being here.
How's that?
Unfortunately, it was Ohio State twice and Michigan once. That's the way it goes, huh?
Yes, indeed.
I got a good team this year, though, right?
That's right. All right, so it is Oklahoma favored, but the big question will be, can the Washington State offense move the ball against this great Sooner defense?
Well, I think they'll move the ball. I mean, they'll move it. They'll make first downs, but you wonder if they can get points on the board. This Oklahoma defense is very stingy giving up points. I think the story of the game, though, will be whether Washington State's rush defense, which is very good, can stop the newly found running game of Oklahoma. If they can stop them, they might be able to win this game.
So we have the dual head coaches across the way for the Washington State Cougars. They will kick it off here to start the game with Adam Holliday, and the Sooners with Savage and Perkins back deep. Nate Hibble ready for the first series of the game for OU. Underway. Coming out on the 20-yard line, and Nate Hibble told us what he wanted to accomplish in this first series.
Our key is to, kind of absorb that first wave that the Rose Bowl is going to throw at us. I think it's going to be extremely loud. We're going to be extremely excited and to make some first downs and win that field position battle.
So the young man who transferred from Georgia moves in under center. They will open with the shotgun look with Quentin Griffin right to his left. And Griffin, without any delay, inside handoff, and he is stuffed at the 20-yard line. And now we can take a look at our PlayStation 2 starting lineup. You saw the senior Griffin. He'll be a story all day long. They open with 2 tight ends, Smith and Donnelly. Savage and Fagan are the wide men for OU. The improvement with this team, those of you who follow the Sooners realize it's this offensive line. Vince Carter anchors it. Mike Skinner, the only senior for Coach Stoops. He lost twice in the Rose Bowl, once as a player and once as an assistant coach. Now on second down, Smith, the quarterback's roommate, with a little motion look on the H-back. Hibble in trouble, throws incomplete. It will be third down as Will Durding, the redshirt freshman, puts the pressure on. Now defensively for Washington State, Fred Chavis is the lone senior. Ryan Long, keep an eye on 88. He won the Outland Trophy. Only one senior, Davis, amongst the linebackers. A penalty flag, now we note, is down on the field. Marcus Trufant, by the way, we should point out, is an All-American defensive back. So they pick it up.
Interesting, Brent. Marcus Trufant's All-American, but Jason David leads the country in interceptions, the other corner. So they don't throw much at Marcus Trufant.
What is the other? David has 7 picks.
7, best in the country.
And Adobe's defense. 3rd down and long, so a very promising defensive series here as the Sooners so far unable to move the ball. You would think now that Hibble will attempt to get it downfield. On the move, goes for the 1st down and gets it. Picks it up at the 31-yard line. A scrambling Nate Hibble. So we mentioned to you that he had transferred from Georgia. That was in '99, but a very impressive record as a starter, a survivor. Didn't open the season. Jason White was the starting quarterback. White injured. But a year ago, Hibble threw for 175 yards in a win over Arkansas. Now a fresh set of downs. So a 3rd down conversion and a long one on the quarterback scramble. 4 down linemen for the Cougars. There's that draw play that they run frequently from the shotgun, and here's Quentin Griffin breaking free for the first time today. Ball loose, a fumble, but was it out of bounds? They're marking it at the spot. If so, that would snap one of the longest strings in the college game. I think you can see the back judge saying that it was out of bounds. It'll be Oklahoma's football.
Boy, Quentin Griffin so small you'll see a blitz right in there, just a fan. Quentin Griffin runs right through a missed tackle by Davis, and a little guy again. It's not just quickness, it's not just finesse, but you look at a guy who has not fumbled all year, and yes, his foot was out of bounds and the ball was out of bounds. What? Foot's out of bounds, ball touches the sideline. Quentin gets it away with another one. Holy
480 consecutive touches without a fumble lost. That's a 38-yard run, and Griffin making a move on Billy Sims for the single season rushing record at Oklahoma, and that is a story. Remember now, bowl games count, but in fairness to Sims, Oklahoma has tacked on what he did against Nebraska in the '79 Orange Bowl.
Still 2 tight ends.
Donnelly an H-back look. Hibble has protection, and he overthrew Peoples.
Well, this Oklahoma offense has changed this year. Bobby Stoops said he wanted to run the ball. You can see it now. It's control the down and distance, and they do that with the run game. When they're doing well on 3rd down, they look 3rd down equals Trent Smith. Trent's down. And lastly, this team will throw short, and they got great athletes out of those wide receivers. Give them the ball and then let them go.
Fagan and Peoples both go to the short side of the field. And now Donnelly motions out to the right. And the inside handoff to Griffin. Huge gash in that defensive front. And he makes it to the 27-yard line with Virgil Williams, the strong safety, making the tackle.
Ron, really interesting. We had lunch with Bill Doba at our table at the Rose Bowl banquet luncheon, and I said, what do you think of this Oklahoma offense? And he says, you know what, that offensive line, I'm really impressed with that offensive line, and that's why Quentin Griffin has these type of numbers. They've just made a consensus effort to get these guys more physical and run the ball when they want to. That's been the key.
A 3rd down for Hibble. Savage slotted to the left. They need to reach the 21 for a 1st down. Hibble throws it up in the air for the end zone, and Peoples can't get there. It'll be a 4th down coming up for Oklahoma now, and they can attempt a long field goal if they desire.
Tell you, Will Durting again, number 51. We did not have him in the Ohio State game when we did Washington State and Ohio State. But 51, Durting came in and forced Hibble to throw that ball way, way too early. No accuracy. His chance of getting accuracy on that throw was practically 0.
Trey DiCarlo, Matt McCoy the holder. Matt McCoy with a big fake in an important game against Missouri earlier this year. So this will be a 45-yard field goal. And the left-footed kicker sends it deep enough. And Oklahoma on the board first at the Rose Bowl. It's 3-0 Sooners.
300 new tackles, one stifling defense. NFL Game Day 2003. Rated E for everyone.
Chrysler invites you to preview our holiday collection, featuring our best-selling collection of minivans, now with a special holiday bonus. Now choose one of 3 Sony personal entertainment packages when you buy any new Town & Country minivan. Plus, get 0% financing for 60 months on select minivans. Or choose cash allowances up to $3,500. But hurry, this invitation ends January 2nd, so see your Chrysler dealer today.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, FedEx guy.
Let's get to work.
So it can store up to 1,000 addresses. It lets you print labels and find a drop box. It can email you when the package has been delivered and more. FedEx.com is just like having your own FedEx guy.
Hey,
Yeah?
kind of freaked me out, man.
It's ABC's Sizzling Wednesday. 25 guys, 1 girl. No holds barred.
It'll be a fight to the finish.
The Bachelorette. Next Wednesday, 9/8 Central on ABC.
The Rose Bowl presented by PlayStation 2. And on a gorgeous, gorgeous day at the Granddaddy, the Oklahoma Sooners, who are the second Big 12 team to appear here in 2 years. Remember, a year ago, when Miami won the national championship, they beat Nebraska. And now the Sooners strike first. And Pete Kevel with the ball on the tee will kick it off. Driving it deep. They'll take a knee. And now we ask Jason Gesser what he would like to accomplish in this first series against the Sooners.
First drive is just going out there and getting comfortable in the game. You know, it's just going out there, getting a grasp of what you think they're going to do on defense, reading their defense as well. For me, I always want to go out there, make the right checks, make the right play calls, put our offense in the right position.
We come up to watch exactly how mobile Jason Gesser is. Many of us remember that courageous performance against UCLA. He, of course, is heavily taped on the right ankle. He also has an injured knee. He suffered an injured rib earlier in his career. Fires the first pass. Darling in the air. Got it near midfield. DeVar Darling. 29 yards.
It's exactly the way you attack a 2-deep safety defense. You want one receiver right at the safety, and then you trail the other one outside the corner. You'll see Darling get outside straight. There's an inside receiver holding the safety, and Gesser knows it better than anybody. You know, Brent, reminds me of Josh Heupel. Remember, Oklahoma's quarterback as a senior. This guy knows the game.
He's a can-do player with 4 wide and 1 running back. You folks watching this in Alabama, here's the Crimson Tide attack to be as they run it with Jermaine Green, the junior from Daytona Beach, Florida. Now our PlayStation 2 starting lineups for the Cougars. Green draws the start. Jerome Riley, Mike Bush, 2 of the other very talented wide receivers on this team. The middle of their offensive line, seniors. Number 67, Calvin Armstrong, has been switched over to the right side, and Josh Parrish starts today as you look down from the Goodyear blimp on a glorious, glorious day here in Pasadena. Second down, the backfield is emptied out for the Cougars. Dropped at the 45-yard line, and now the Oklahoma starting defense. Talented front. Tommy Harris feeling healthy for perhaps the first time since early in the season. Teddy Lehman, one of the fastest outside linebackers in the college game. Andre Wolfo, a tall, talented defensive back, going to be married soon, a very mature young man. He'll be matched against Bush and some of these other talented wide receivers of the Cougars. And you'll see him playing on Sunday for sure next year. Could be a shutdown corner. Third down and long for Gesser. Steps up in the pocket. Dropped at the 30-yard line.
And it'll be the Cougars forced to punt as Jerome Riley couldn't quite get a handle on it. Talk to me about the mobility as we await the punt. What do you see, Gary?
Jason Gesser says he's 80%. He might not be. Can I give you a little yogiism here? If his ankle doesn't get worse, it's going to get better as the game goes on. Okay, because it's going to loosen up a little bit, or he's going to get it wrapped up and it'll get a lot worse. But it's good enough to play. You can see it right there. He's been on target.
Bosler, the punter. Antonio Perkins, a dangerous return man for the Sooners. Standing back on the OU 10-yard line. Fielded at the 14. Penalty flag is thrown on the play. There is a penalty flag, and he is crushed.
That was the punter. He easily got him at the end, too.
I think the sideline may want a roughing penalty over here on that hit. There's a flag thrown back around the 20-yard line, indicating perhaps a block in the back or an illegal block. Coach Stoops very unhappy about it.
Yeah, you could see the Washington State player. He put his hands up in the air like he was held.
During the return, holding on the receiving team, 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. It will be 1st and 10.
That's really.
Well, let's take a break, Gary. We'll come back and we'll pick up your point in just a moment.
The Rose Bowl game presented by PlayStation 2. This ABC Sports exclusive presentation brought to you by PlayStation 2. Chrysler, drive equals love. FedEx, ground, international, online, or express. Don't worry, there's a FedEx for that. And the easy-to-use Nokia 3650 camera phone. Nokia, connecting people.
Let's quickly go to the hit on the sideline. It appears as though Bosler got away with one out of bounds. Perkins' return, he is out of bounds. Clearly, the flag should have been thrown by the line judge. But OU is penalized back to the 11-yard line. And here comes Griffin on that play, and the Cougars smell it out pretty good that time and bring him down. The Sooners on their first possession kicked a field goal to take a 3-0 lead, and they stopped Jason Gesser and Washington State at midfield.
Oklahoma has to start accounting for Mawuli Davis, the middle linebacker for Washington State. He has not been blocked yet. Griffin ran through a tackle for his big run, but the middle linebacker 58, Davis, has been in on every play. There he is, right there.
Peoples goes in motion through the OU formation, and there's the quick hitch over to Quentin Griffin, and he'll be thrown for a loss on that play, and that will bring up 3rd and long. Well, you know, Gary, the FedEx Orange Bowl tomorrow night is on ABC. USC taking on Iowa. Everybody, you know, there's a buzz about that game too. What's your feel about that?
The one interesting matchup is people believe they can throw the ball against Iowa's secondary. They believed it all year, and they won a lot of games. So we'll see. We will see. They got the Heisman Trophy against the backup. It's the second Heisman Trophy guy. Great football.
Now the Cougars again have OU in 3rd and long. They had them there on the opening series of the game, and they couldn't stop Hibble from scrambling for a 1st down. From the Sooner end zone, the throw wide open man at the 40-yard line got Peoples. So on 3rd down, Hibble runs for one and throws for another to Will Peoples, the sophomore from Humble, Texas, for 55 yards.
Jason David, number 29, guessed. He guessed. He thought the guy was going to come in, and it was an in and out flag. Watch. David's inside. One receiver goes in. He guesses. He freezes, tries to jam the receiver, and he gets caught trying to guess a route and pays the price.
Kewan Jones, now the running back, number 20, his first carry of the game. And he was stuffed after perhaps a yard gain. This is a very deep and talented Oklahoma offense. If you have not watched their progress this season, than the team that Josh Heupel led to a national championship. That was a spread the field, use the short pass as a running play team. This team comes to a running game. Kevin Wilson moving from the Northwestern staff to Oklahoma. And here they go on a quick count and use Jones And he gets nowhere, and it'll be 3rd and long again. But you know, Gary, so far the Sooners have flourished on 3rd and long, missing on only 1.
That has been the key. Heupel has scrambled for 1 and thrown for 2, and that's been the difference. I'm sorry, Hibble has scrambled.
I take the blame for that. I mentioned him. My fault. I never should have done that.
Listen,
okay.
he is a guy that has gotten better as we watch the whole year, and Nate Hibble is now a guy that picks up these third. But I haven't seen Trent Smith. I think he's the key on 3rd down. He hasn't looked for him yet. He's right here.
You would think he'd be looking for his roommate, wouldn't you? As Quentin Griffin checks back in. There's the deep drop, set that screen to Griffin. He's an outstanding receiver, but he won't get this one.
Ryan Long came from behind on that one. Our Outland Trophy winner. He can run. He can run. He's a big, tall guy, but he runs from defensive tackle. You know, Brent, we always talk about Oklahoma's speed on defense, but Washington State's speed on defense is fun to watch. Their front 7 is as fast as everybody.
So here we have one of those games where Oklahoma, or any team, moving, picking up a lot of yards, but suddenly they have to settle for field goal attempts down. And those of you who watch a lot of ball know how that can come back and bite you. Trey DiCarlo left Annapolis early this late summer, I should say, and early fall. Left-footed kicker now for Oklahoma, trying to hit his 2nd. And there's the fake. And a penalty flag thrown on the play.
Yeah, it's going to be
line judge throwing the penalty flag.
Going to be holding on Washington State on the receivers there. That's what happens on those plays. And that's probably better than a touchdown, getting a holding penalty. You called it before. McCoy has done it before against Missouri to win a football game.
Holding on the defense. That's a 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Automatic 1st down.
Well, Gary mentioned again, and it was earlier this fall against Missouri. Bob Stoops and the Sooners were in a dogfight. And here's McCoy on October 5th, up firing. Touchdown, Oklahoma to Chester. And the coaches told us that was their key offensive play of the year, and they come up with it again here to keep this drive going on this 5th.
Play's going to go out this way. That's where the holding's going to happen. Out to the outside. Grabbed him on Chester again.
Inside handoff, Quentin Griffin only picking up 1 or 2 yards. I will say, because Gary, you and I have seen number 22 in Oklahoma a lot this season. The Cougars are doing a very good job of jumping that shotgun draw play, that wraparound handoff by Hibble. That time it was Ryan Long again.
I asked Will Durdig, the linebacker for Washington State, have you seen a shotgun team that runs the ball all year like this? And he said no. And I said, well, what do you do? He said, play the run. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to play the run. I'll let the DBs worry about the passing game.
And that base 4-3 in defense. Hibble going to keep it himself. And he is across the 15 down to about the 13-yard line. And it will be a 3rd and a little bit shorter this time. Well, log on to Enhanced TV at ESPN.com now for your chance to win a trip to next year's national title game.
Another one of those 3rd down and mediums, and it has been the MO, and I'm praying for it now. It has been the MO to go to Trent Smith on this situation, but so far they've gone against their own tendency and have done other things. They're 2 for 4, but they've also picked up, because of the penalty, a 4th down play.
Late substitution, Fagan. They spread the field. Smith is just off to Hibble's right, empty the backfield out. Hibble had time and throws incomplete. Well, we've got these beautiful aerial pictures courtesy of Goodyear's newest blimp, the Spirit of America, based in Carson, California, nearby. The Goodyear blimp provided its first aerial TV coverage of the Rose Bowl back in 1964.
Actually,
wouldn't be a Rose Bowl without the Goodyear blimp.
You are right, and you know, they should have told us that it was this nice out here. I might have run a few more laps in my day.
Trey DiCarlo. And you would think that after the fake on the last one, they'd go ahead with the 31-yard attempt this time, and they do. No good. 1 of 2. The 2 head coaches. See, they both made that good call. The timeout.
This is the Rose Bowl game presented by PlayStation 2.
One of the grand traditions in all of sports, and the folks who were over at the parade earlier today said that that was another smashing success, and many of them have come on over here to the Rose Bowl. Oklahoma dominating in terms of yardage, 119-30. The Cougars will come back now with their second.
Yes, they have dominated, but I think if you're Washington State, there have been open receivers and a drop ball, and I think Jason Gesser saying, I can throw against these guys.
Darling caught one. He split far out to the right. Riley motions back, and the play is whistled dead. This is a SEC conference officiating crew. Several of them worked with us.
Dead ball, false start, movement by the offensive line, 5 yards.
Well, let's take a look at our Jeep rushing playbook.
Well, if you're going to stop Quentin Griffin, you have to account for the middle linebacker. Mawuli Davis right here has been all over this, but when you got Quentin Griffin, the small guy, beats the tackle. This was the big run of the game so far. When you got that middle linebacker one-on-one, that's why Oklahoma knows you spread out the field. He's very tough to stop in that spread running game.
Shotgun, 4 down linemen for OU. Looking at Darling's side, now in trouble. Steps out to the left and throws it out of bounds. Let's check in with Jack on Jason Gesser's condition.
Well, Brent, he said he's only going 80%, but he is still using the same brace that he used in the UCLA game. It's a very special brace that kind of melds the shoe with the upper ankle area. You can see the steel on the sides, and then it wraps from the shoe all the way up and around Jason Gesser's ankle. He's got it taped up so nobody can see it. You see it there. It's pretty bulky. They know he's got it on.
I think so.
John Tippins checks in as running back, and they slip it out to Riley to the 35-yard line, number 84, and that is a first down, 20 yards.
Jason Gesser reminds me of a second baseman in baseball. Watch how quickly he can handle the ball. Quick, little fake, balls out of his hands. Great hand quickness, great touch on the throws, and Riley is really, really fun to watch after the catch.
Gesser 2 of 5 here in the early going.
You know, those quarterbacks that can turn the double play like Gesser does. He gets that ball quickly to his players, and all of college football tries to run that bubble screen, but you have to have a quarterback that can get it to him quickly.
Well, a reminder that it starts Super Bowl Sunday, and you can explain it in 3 words. Jimmy Kimmel Live. Late night starting Super Bowl Sunday on ABC. Actually, I look forward to Jimmy prior to games like that to find out who he's picking. Might want to go the other way, you know.
Can't be right, can you?
No, you can't.
Great matchup at the top of the screen. Darling against Woolfolk. Both those guys will be playing on Sunday. Right there, those 2 guys. Look at those 2. Great matchup.
Toss play to Tippins behind the pulling lineup, and Mitchell battles off the block to make the stop.
Let's take a look at what Washington State needs to do in this football game to win. What I think they knew is to be able to rush the ball, not balance. 50 first half, 50 second half. They must frustrate this quick Oklahoma defense with short passes, but that's not enough. We've seen the MO to beat this Oklahoma defense. You got to get behind them. They need at least 2 big plays throwing deep behind that secondary.
2nd down and 4 for the Cougars, who trail it by a field goal.
Bubble screens enter again. See if he checks to it.
Lundy is over there.
He did.
Gesser, and it is deflected away beautifully by Jonathan Jackson. There is a penalty flag down on the play, but the sophomore defensive end got in and got a paw on it.
Jackson was in the neutral zone. Somebody was lined up, maybe so tight.
Offsides on the defense, lined up in the neutral zone. 5-yard penalty. result in a first down.
Yeah, Gary, no wonder he got there so quickly. So we are at the opening quarter of the Rose Bowl game presented by PlayStation 2. The Sooners kicked a field goal on their first possession. Both sides scoreless since. Oklahoma also missed their second field goal attempt. So it is first down for the Washington State Cougars, co-champions of the Pac-10, from the 45-yard line. Kessler rolling, deflected, incomplete.
What a wonderful job that time by Anthony Perkins, number 28, the number 3 corner. He'll probably be the starter next year when Woolfolk moves on. At that time, he was in a zone. He baited Gesser to the open kind of flag route. They had 3 people going to the outside, and Perkins just baited them all the way. Lucky it wasn't an intercepted ball. You know, when you throw on the run, you actually are throwing off your left foot, and it's a little easier on your right push-off. I suspect that more and more of that play-action stuff will be able to have Gesser still get hit, though, but a little bit more movement in that pocket.
2nd and 10 for Gesser. Not going to get this one off. Jackson is causing him a nightmare on that corner. Jonathan Jackson, the defensive end from Houston. And that time, I do not believe he was lined up in the neutral zone.
No, he wasn't.
Legal all the way.
Calvin Armstrong has had to play both right tackle and left tackle. Today, he's at right tackle in the speed rush. And these guys are good from Oklahoma. When they get your number, they get around the corner, and that time Gesser, who does such a great job for this offensive line buying time, had nothing to do that time.
Young Armstrong will see that speed rush again. Won't he? Now it is 3rd and forever. They'll play a little bit of a field position game here with Smith carrying the ball, and then they've elected to punt it. They were hoping to get more yards on that play, thinking the Sooners were looking pass all the way. Dvoracek, number 94, makes the stop, and now the Cougars with Kyle Bosler, a tough hombre, a big hombre. Have you seen the size of him?
240 pounds, freshman.
and not afraid to deliver a hit, even if it's a touch illegal. And in front of the Oklahoma bench, I might tell you, with Perkins. Whoa! Look at Bosler hang that punt. Back to the 5-yard line. Here comes Perkins. On a cut, penalty flag. There is a penalty flag. Bosler coming over again.
Happens so many times when the runner changes directions, the blocks are thrown and you get somebody in the back. Perkins is
so this
dangerous.
one's coming back.
Kind of a Rick Roby type punter, isn't he?
Yeah, it does look a little bit like the old Hawkeye great. You bet, huh? That was only
during the
58
return,
yards.
Illegal block in the back by the receiving team. Half the distance to the goal. It'll be a first down.
Was it Woolfolk? Well, number 15 right there. You saw it, push in the back. I don't know if the tackle would have been made, but that was obvious push in the back, and you're going to get called.
Well, as the Cougars defenders come on the field, Gary pointed out on one of the commercial breaks that we have got to keep an eye on the Outland Trophy winner, Ryan Long, a junior, small town of Washington, defensive tackle, has been applying enormous pressure on this Sooner attack. They have not been able to block him so far. I'm sure the coaches will make some adjustments and try to take on number 80.
Yeah, you can see why, with those type of players and skill up front, why Washington State, and listen to this, in the last 5 games have given up a total of 152 yards rushing. And that's that type of movement they have up front and speed that is tough to handle.
Well, you know, we've talked about Ryan, and I asked him when I was in Pullman, what's your favorite move as a defensive lineman? How do you get them off you?
I don't like people really touching me a lot, so I try to get their hands off, and it's called a wax off. So, you know, you kind of just, well, like in Karate Kid, you know, you come up and knock their hands off, and then you pin one of their arms to the side. I'll usually grab their wrist and pin it and rip and come off for you.
And he rips pretty successfully, too, number 88 does, when he's on the field for these guys. And here's the handoff now to Quentin Griffin to the 15-yard line. And Ryan Long's got a great upside.
Well, Brent, it's hard to believe that Ryan Long when he started the season. He wasn't even one of the 63 linemen on the Outland Trophies watch list. But when it was all said and done, and as part of the ESPN College Football Awards show, they called Ryan Long's name. He was brought up to the stage, and he made a very emotional acceptance of the first ever individual trophy won by a Washington State Cougar.
Slammed at the 10-yard line for a loss by Pat Bennett, the weak side linebacker out of Forks, Washington, only a sophomore.
You see him right there. Come and just scap it. Just come inside. Beats the pulling lineman that time. Doesn't get there. And actually, Trent Smith was trying to seal him off from the outside, a split tight end. You know, you watch these Pac-10 defenses, and we thought, you know, last year Colorado would be able to run the ball against Oregon. But here again, Washington State, their quickness in the front seven has been too tough.
Ronaldo works, and the Sooners like to throw to him. Number 47, they like to set him for the screen. They put two running backs next to Hibble. Work stays to block this time. At the 29-yard line, the catch is made, and that'll be enough for a Sooner first down. Curtis Fagan, the senior from Houston.
And when we talked to Chuck Long, the offensive coordinator for Oklahoma, he said that one of the biggest changes he instituted this year was a simplification in his pass protection. On that play, Washington State blitzed, but Oklahoma picked it up beautifully. They kept both backs in, picked up the blitz, and then it was pitch and catch. Really simple for the quarterback to throw the ball to the outside, and Hibble continues, if you give him time, to throw accurately.
On a first down, on a rather warm day, some backup defensive linemen being used. The throw underneath the Savage. Savage dances to the 34-yard line. But it brings up the point, Gary, of the heat, and just a touch warm down on the field. We were down there prior to the kickoff. You're going to need 6-7 defensive linemen before this one's through. So Ryan Long sitting this series out, at least so far. I mean, if they get into trouble, they'll send the big fella right back onto the field.
Yeah, and especially with the number of plays. Oklahoma has controlled the clock here, and they've had more plays, and you have to play a four-quarter game. You have to think long term.
On second down, there's the wrap by Griffin. Nowhere. It'll be spotted at the 33-yard line. So Quentin Griffin in the opening quarter rushes 9 times for 44 yards. An ABC Sports presentation of the Rose Bowl game presented by PlayStation 2 continues after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
On ABC.
Oklahoma leading it by a field goal, and Gary, you get the feeling that it's going to break open a little bit in this quarter.
Yes, you do. There have been some open plays. Oklahoma hasn't been able to run the ball except for one big run play, but Hibble's hot. Gesser, if he gets a little more time, there's open players out there. Yes, there will be some big plays in this football game.
As you look down on the great scene here today, just beautiful, beautiful weather. And there's the offensive production. You can see how Oklahoma dominated it. But they did not score any touchdowns, and the Cougars have to take heart in that as Hibble lofts it, and it's incomplete.
I'll tell you, that's what man-to-man teams love to do, is have you throw fades. They're low percentage, and Jason David was right there making them force a perfect throw, and it was not.
Ferguson trots onto the field.
Remember on the field before the game, Brent, Mike Levenseller, next year's offensive coordinator, told us if it's a close game on third down, he's going to play conservative. And so far, Washington State's kept it close.
Marcus Trufant, an All-American defensive back, set to return this punt. And Trufant, a very dangerous man in the open field. He's standing on the Cougars' 23-yard line. Short. And Trufant lets it take a big hop. Got to get out of the way. Doesn't want to touch that ball inadvertently there. He was kind of trapped in no man's land. Didn't want it bouncing past him, but didn't want to gamble on it either. So we'll take a timeout here in Pasadena. Jason Gesser in this game is 2 of 6 for 49 yards. Has not thrown an interception, nor has Hibble, who is 4 of 9 for 83 yards in this game. So the Cougars down 3 with a first down on their 24-yard line.
Thrown 6 passes, got hit 3 times.
Probably needs to get the ball into number 1's hands if he can. It's away from him this time. Comes to the left side, incomplete. Wanted Bush, who was covered.
Let's take a look at Jason Gesser. You know, you got the bad ankle there. Oklahoma knows exactly where he's thrown from, and Tommy Harris is healthy. Puts a hit at him. Throws the ball 6 times so far in this game. And we've been charting it. The old quarterback here knows you get hit early, you start to get sore late. You know, interesting, it's not just Jason Gesser's ankle. He's contemplating having knee surgery after the season. Kind of go out and clean his knee up, too, before an All-Star game.
Second down, that familiar one-back attack of the Cougars. And I asked Price, will this be the attack that we see down in Tuscaloosa when you move to Alabama?
We have a system, we have a program, we have a plan, and we're going to take that same program and plan to Alabama. You'll see the same offense, you'll see the same defense, you'll see pretty much, you're not going to see the same players. I wish I could take those players with me, you know, but that's not part of the deal.
So for you Crimson Tide fans watching, here's your attack. He'll spread the field. He frequently goes empty in the backfield like he is now. And Gesser, though, is like having a coach on the field. Frequently changes the play. Saw that the quick hitch might work with Riley, but it did not because number 49, Jonathan Jackson, is all over the field defensively.
I'll tell you, Jonathan Jackson was there. So was Teddy Lehman. That was another audible by Jason Gesser. The slot man was not covered. It looked like zone, but that speed of that Oklahoma defense just plays it and covers it up. Teddy Lehman was right there, too.
Again, OU's smothering defense stops him. And the big fella with the strong leg drives it back inside the 10-yard line, and Perkins to the 25-yard line. That buzzed. And that's the leg, isn't it, folks? 3-0, Sooners lead it. NFL Commissioner Paul Tagliabue. He's watching his first Rose Bowl. He's a guest of the civic and business leaders, and that lady says, look, we're on TV, Commissioner. I cannot believe it.
Sit next to the commissioner, you got a good shot at getting on TV, don't you?
Well, you might become a part owner of a new franchise. Who knows? They, of course, are talking about eventually moving another Super Bowl. I think there have been about 5 out here in Southern California. There have been some real great games, too. Here's the handoff now to Quentin Griffin. Bill Parcells, who took the Dallas Cowboy job, came out here and with the Giants and won a Super Bowl over Denver. Well, our Aflac trivia question. This is Oklahoma's first appearance in the Rose Bowl. When was Washington State's first appearance in the Rose Bowl? And folks, it was not just a few years ago when Ryan Leaf brought them here. Their first appearance. Think about that one for a moment. We've even got some highlights to show you from their first appearance.
I've seen one missed tackle this game for Washington State, and that was on the long run. They have been tackling very securely.
Now a second down and a long closing in. Hibble gets it into the hands of his roommate Smith, and we check in with Jackaroo.
Well, Brent, when Nate Hibble arrived as a transfer from Georgia, he admitted to me, he said, what I wanted to do is what I just did then. I wanted to pass about 50 times a game. He said, since then, with the emphasis being shifted to running, he says, I actually take more pleasure now standing back after handing off to someone like Quentin Griffin and watching him grind out the yards. He said, I guess I've gotten a little mature in my age.
I'd say, Jack, and third and short. Jones. It's going to be real close, folks. As you can see, he's short on your set of that yellow line there that he didn't get it.
It's the first time I've seen Jones watching the game so far and watching tape of Oklahoma stop at the line of scrimmage. He is usually always downhill. That's why he comes in for Griffin, and that time he dallied just a bit and it cost him. Watch him come inside. He just needs to make the pile move in this situation. You got 2 guys in front of you. Push. Kind of moves, kind of stops, and look at that. 4th and short.
This is a stout defensive front. Long and the starters back on the field after taking a series off. They have moved Long right over on Carter's nose. They think they can operate from there. Jones to the top. Dives for it.
Well, his right foot's on the right side of the white-yellow line. What does that mean? Good?
Good by me.
Yes, all right. Hope the technology is correct because his right foot was on the outside of that yellow line. Washington State defense again did not give up much. 3rd and short, 4th and short. Now I thought the ball didn't go as far as his shoulder pad, but his lineman used his right foot, and it looked like he made it by, what, half a football? Oh, less than half. Technology is working. Tell the truck the technology is right on.
That means the spotter did a good job.
Yes, exactly.
Positioning that yellow line. He stays to work another game. Our producer, Bob Goodrich, will take care of that young man right after the game. First down now. Ball is on the 36, between the 36 and the 37-yard line. Carter breaks the OU huddle. Runnels is the fullback. Quentin Griffin is the tailback. The toss to Griffin. Here's Runnels leading the way. And Griffin makes the most out of it. Got a nice lead block by Runnels. And, of course, next on ABC, don't forget now the Nokia Sugar Bowl. Georgia and Florida State at 8:30 Eastern. And a lot of folks, Gary, say that Florida State, with I guess 4 losses, that the Noles don't belong in a BCS game, but they did win the ACC. What do you feel about that?
Gee, Florida State doesn't belong in a bowl game. What has happened to college football here? How about the old? How about Mark Richt, who was so many years a loyal assistant to Bowden down there, and he's turned Georgia, and looks like he's been richly rewarded over there at Georgia too, huh?
Yes, indeed. Done a wonderful job with them dogs, and I'm sure their fans have filled up Bourbon Street. Griffin trying to battle for it. It is tough going.
You bet.
The one thing that we are seeing here, this defensive line, we go back to a game we covered in Columbus, Ohio, between Washington State and Ohio State. And it was the youngster, Maurice Clarett, who lit up this defensive front in the second half. But they sustained some injuries, the Cougars did. Nova's defense was beaten up a little bit in the second half of that game, and Clarett ran wild on him. But ever since then, they have shut down the running backs. Of course, in the Pac-10, they have more throwers than runners out here this year, we were told.
They run right every time. Let's see if they go left one time. Right again.
This is Jones. Not going to get there.
No, they're going to have to punt the ball this time.
He was tracked down beautifully that time by Pat Bennett and Eric Coleman. Pat Bennett, number 46, up to really blow up that play.
And Eric Coleman is in that position that all-time great Lamont Thompson played for years here at Washington State. The interception leader, all-time interception leader in the Pac-10, but Coleman comes up and stops the play.
Ferguson on the field again, and Trufant standing back at the 19-yard line. So we expected to see a game up in the 50s, and so far we've got only one field goal. Bad punt by Ferguson. Very bad punt. This ball is going to be spotted all the way at the 42-yard line. Only 13 yards. Well, here's a chance coming up for the Cougars, but can they move the ball? We'll find out.
The Rose Bowl game presented by PlayStation 2. This ABC Sports exclusive presentation brought to you by PlayStation 2. Pontiac, fuel for the soul. Aflac, ask about it at work. And Avaya, a higher plane of communication.
Pontiac performance drive summary, and the first 3 possessions for the Cougars have all ended in punts, and you can see their inability to move the football. They'll try it again now. Green, the running back.
Oklahoma's keeping a safety very deep every play.
The toss play, they'll see if they can run the ball a little bit. Picking up about 4 yards, and these linebackers are so good. That time it was Derek Strait. The Sooners present so many speed problems for Jason Gesser.
You know, another fast guy today. It's not just the linebackers. Tommy Harris is probably as healthy as he's been all year, and now he's part of that group of a speed defensive tackle that Washington State is having trouble with during this game. There he is right there, 97.
Gesser tried to get it to Darling, straight incomplete, and the speed of those linebackers. We asked Jason Gesser about the Sooner backers.
Whenever you got the speed of linebackers in there, it concerns the quarterback because you're looking for windows and things inside, you know, and whenever they can close that window or use their speed to catch up with the receiver if they get misaligned or something like that.
Now the young man from Honolulu is having his hands full with this Sooner defense here today. The dominant unit of the game so far, Oklahoma's defense. Third down. Fires back. Complete, and it is Riley at the 30, 25, and makes a nice run after the catch to the 21-yard line. Jerome Riley, the senior from California, for 32 yards, and the Cougars are in business.
How smart is Jason Gesser? He goes at the middle linebacker. That's number 10, Mitchell, the middle linebacker. He knows the middle linebacker is the one guy that he has a wide receiver one-on-one. Comes across, you run across those linebackers. Look at Lance Mitchell falls down on the play, and that's what Gesser, that's what the 5 wide receivers can do to you if you don't come in with 7 defensive backs.
Gesser having some problems, and they'll have to burn a timeout.
No, I think that the down marker didn't get there, Brent.
Well, that should not be charged to Washington State. We'll take a break. So they come to the line of scrimmage, and the officials now have moved the down markers. They get them in position, and they say, ready, go, fires, grab, picked off at the 2-yard line. Woolfolk goes diving for it and makes the interception inside the 5. Andre Woolfolk, showing many of you why he is a future first-round draft choice.
Jason got greedy on that one. He had the wide receiver Riley in the flat. He tried to stick it to the outside, a poor throw to Darling, and you see the former wide receiver make the catch. Full-time corner now. Watch, Riley's wide open. There's the easy throw. Throws the ball inaccurately, and Woolfolk, as we said, a former wide receiver comes up and just grabs it. Washington State's defense now can't get down in the dumps. Great field position. If they get a 3 and out, they're going to get at least 3 points out of it.
Jones, the tailback for the Sooners. The safe handoff, but nothing doing. Well, we asked you the Affleck question earlier. When was Washington State's first appearance in the Rose Bowl? Well, folks, not live in a living color, but here's some pictures. Washington State and Brown back in 1960. And the Cougars won it. They beat Brown, shut them out, 14-0. And obviously that was not here in Pasadena. That was at a ballpark in Los Angeles. And Ronaldo works. Checks in. Hibble on the roll. He's got Savage. And he is out of bounds at the 9-yard line. And so the top of the hour, we have only one field goal between Washington State and Oklahoma. And the Sooners kicking on their first series of the game. They, of course, have featured Quentin Griffith, who's run for 55 yards here today. That little inside handoff, and the Cougar defense has been able to keep the Sooners out of the end zone. Now we come up with third down.
Just 3 for 9 for Oklahoma on third down.
And those all came early. And now Oklahoma will burn a timeout. So the Sooners call a timeout. And this time we will take a full break.
You're watching the Rose Bowl game presented by PlayStation 2 on ABC Sports.
Well, note the timeout situation. The Cougars were not charged with one earlier. The frustration over the chains being moved, and that was an official's timeout. That's when they spotted the ball. Now the interception, and now OU comes up with the third down, wants his roommate, and he's got him at the 16-yard line. Gary, nice call. You said he's going to find 88.
Yeah, Trent Smith, third down equals that guy right there. Actually, Washington State treats number 88 as a wide receiver. Even though he lines up and listed as a tight end, they know he's really a big wide receiver. Now, I think his blocking has improved this year, but on third down, when you get a matchup that time, it was against Williams, a strong safety. That's an advantageous matchup for Oklahoma, and they had to have it. They needed that first down to avoid points.
Ball's on the Sooners' 16-yard line. Griffin inside, handoff, and absolutely nothing doing that time. Well, coming up on the BMW halftime show, John Saunders and Terry Bowden have highlights and analysis from today's bowl games.
I'll tell you, Oklahoma's offensive line that has been so good cannot handle the front four of Washington State. That time it was 97 Cook who just rushed in there and beat the block before it even touched him. At one point, Brent, Quentin Griffin had 38 yards on one carry, and on the next 18 carries, they had 35 yards.
Now Tupai, another one doing a good job down in that defensive line. Hibble to the sideline, incomplete, and it'll be third and long as we check in with Jack down below.
Well, Brett, we watched Trent Smith get that crucial first down to keep the drive going. Trent holds a lot of records at OU during his career, but he says he's disappointed with his career. When I asked him why, he says, because I don't have a signature moment. He explained a signature moment as something that Sooner fans will talk about when I'm a grandfather. And he said, I want to be able to tell my grandchildren, yeah, I'm part of Sooner lore. This is his last chance today in the Rose Bowl to have that signature moment.
And he is searching. Third down for Hibble and the Sooners. Going down at the 1-yard line. And that was Kangaka out of Anchorage, Alaska. The defensive lineman Tomasi. Kangaka making the stop.
Well, Bill Doba has done a great job. He's had a lot of plays against his defense in the first half. He's rolled his defensive line, and he still, with his backups, has forced Oklahoma to punt the ball back to them. They should get great field position. That time on third and long, Brent, the Cougars went with man-to-man coverage. I don't think Hibble thought it was going to be man. He was looking for zone.
Ferguson, only 13 yards on his last punt. Back in the Sooners' end zone. From behind. Trufant. Teddy Lehman at the 35-yard line. So Lehman and several of the defensive starters were on that punt unit that time, and Trufant gives the Cougars excellent field position.
Let's go back to that last interception. That's Jackson. Watch him put the pressure. One of the reasons that ball was thrown in accurately is you see Jackson get to Gesser a little early, and that forced the ball poorly thrown, and Woelfel cleans it up.
Let's see what the Cougars elect to do with field position at the Sooners 37. They have a running back lined up deep behind Gesser, and they're going to come with the running play. This was there the last time, and it is Green across the 30-yard line to the 29. Now twice they have gone to the left side, and they have blocked it clean for Green. And our aerial coverage today is courtesy of Goodyear and its fleet of airships, which reminds you to take all of life's journeys on the wings of Goodyear.
Green, the last two games against Washington and UCLA, did not finish. One time with a bad groin and the other time with the flu. So let's see if they can get a full game out of Green, who's been their big guy, go-to guy in the running game.
Gesser loves a second and short situation as he changes up the play. He's gone to Riley repeatedly. He'll drop back in the gun. Look left, Darling, incomplete, straight with coverage, and Lehman had dropped off to take Bush that time as they overloaded the left side with receivers. But Lehman, the beauty of having a linebacker who can run a legitimate 4-4 is you can use him to cover a wide receiver.
Absolutely. That's the new wave of football. Those linebackers that are undersized, they're almost glorified strong safeties. That was an audible, and Jason Gesser was extremely upset with Darling. He didn't believe he ran his route deep enough, and that's why the ball was thrown poorly.
Now they have Green, and now they have the shotgun. third down and short, but their MO is to throw on third and short. Middle, got it. Riley breaks free and then straight. Puts a saddle on him and runs him down at the 16-yard line, but that's a Cougar first down. And that was Gesser with a penalty flag back at the 32-yard line. So we'll sort this flag out right now. Very costly to the Cougars this time. This is very, very costly.
Illegal formation, 6 men on the line of scrimmage on the offense. 5-yard penalty. Repeat third down.
Well, I've got a moment. Let me remind you that the playoffs begin right here on ABC. The NFL playoffs on Saturday. It'll be the Colts and the Jets. Coverage starts at 4 Eastern. Then after that, of course, it is the Falcons and the Packers. Gary, you and I will go east to the Colts and the Jets, and no one hotter right now than Chad Pennington and the New York Jets.
Good matchup, though, isn't it? Peyton Manning, boy, he'd love to win a big game. 0-2 in the playoffs. Third and medium, though. Still possible to pick this up with a senior quarterback like Gesser.
Darling got it. Incomplete. Stepped out. They wave him out at the 6-yard line. It looked for a moment like he had it. And he had the 1 foot down.
Wonderful catch, wasn't it?
It really was.
I thought he got 1 foot in, but I'm about 75 yards away. Let's see if he catches the ball. One, catches the ball. He only needs one. It's on the line. Great call. On the line.
You can see the official looking right there where he stepped out with his right foot, signaling incomplete. No question about it. And now, fourth down, and now the coaches conferring. And the Cougars will burn a timeout. And, they both joke. If it's a good call, I made it. Bad one, he made it.
Friday night, Eastern on ABC.
Well, junior Drew Dunning is about to attempt what would be his career long if he can make it. This is 50+ yards. Be right around 51 is the official count. Here's Dunning.
Ball got tipped. Was that Woolfolk again?
Well, Woolfolk has been in on field
goals. That's his fourth. If it's at him, 40-inch vertical jump, and when you're 6'3", you can get some of those. That ball got tipped. I know it got tipped. I wonder if it was Woolfolk.
Carl Peterson's here from the Chiefs. Just put him on a jet, take him back to my friend Dick Vermeil, plug him in at that corner spot, and leave him there.
There's about 20 teams that would take number 17 right there. 40-inch vertical jump. Look at this. Let's see if he gets a piece of it. Yes, he did. You can see that ball hit his right hand.
That picture alone is worth a lot of money.
It's another guy that doesn't need to go to the combine.
It's a 17. That's it. He just went to the combine. Forget about it. And I'll tell all the scouts he's a terrific young man. They rave about him. Going to be married, going to be settled in. Here's Savage now breaking free to the 35-yard line. Eric Coleman able to bring Antoine Savage down.
Plus a face mask.
30-yard gain, and a face mask will be tacked on to it.
Well, you know I did not want to go for that field goal. I just thought they needed to punt that ball with 2 minutes, 3 minutes to go in a half like this. You do not want to give Oklahoma good field position, and now all of a sudden a bust in the secondary, and Oklahoma's there.
Incidental face mask on the defense. 5-yard penalty from the end of the run. First down.
Gets the ball down. Savage, one of those players that had been here so long. Been with the national championship team, caught all those balls when this was a throwing game with Josh Heupel. And now you see it's one of those short throws and go. Short and go. Love those type of receivers.
Coming down toward the 3-minute mark here on the first half. 30 yards left here for the Sooners on this drive. Set up by the blocked field goal, giving them good field position. Now this stout front of the Cougars under pressure. Fake by Hibble. On the move, throws, complete inside the 15 to James Moses. The sophomore tight end from Houston. What a big target Moses is.
Absolutely. Nate Hibble is having himself a game, too. He's not making any mistakes. It's a bootleg play. Wants to go down the field. See the tight end crossing. It's the big old lumber. Hibble buys time, waits, looks across his body. I know the coaches don't like it, but there's a lot of yards when you see those tight ends coming across the formation on play-action passes. Washington State got greedy on that field goal, and it's going to cost them
outside the 10-yard line for the Sooners. Short fade thrown. Jones runs for it. Can't hang on. Now, there's a wide receiver who has a great upside. Brandon Jones, sophomore from Texarkana, and the coaches absolutely rave about his potential.
Well, Brandon Jones is 6'3", and this alley-oop fade pass is going against the 5'8" corner, and that ball should have been caught. Jones could have got it. You know, they graduate from receivers here for Oklahoma, Brent, but they've returned some pretty good receivers to this team, too. Peoples, Jones, Clayton. Not going to be a big drop-off next year.
Hibble and the Cougars were blitzing into them.
Perfect defense.
They outnumbered him at the line of scrimmage. There was no chance. Shavies, number 6, jumps in there on the play and blows it up.
Yeah, actually a smart move by Hibble that time. Not pitching it. He knew he was outnumbered, and that would have been a big negative play if he'd have pitched on the option.
3rd down, and the Cougars defense making a stand. It would be a victory for them if they allow only 3. So here it is. 3rd down from the 12-yard line now for Hibble. He has Quentin Griffin in the backfield. They go 3 wide.
Ball go!
Touchdown! Antoine Savage.
Jason David is the defender. Remember, he's 5'8". Basically, this is another fade pass. Throw it up. Bigger receiver, smaller corner. Boy, that one was wide open, and Savage just cleans it up. How about those guys, Brent? I mean, these guys have been here forever. Fagan, Griffin, Savage, Woolfolk, and Smith. They've had a great career for Oklahoma.
And DiCarlo tacks on the extra point. So the failure to defend field position in a low-scoring game costly to the Cougars, and the Sooners burn them on it, marching for the game's first touchdown. And watch the separation by the wide receiver on the corner just at the end. I mean, he really gets daylight here.
A little out and a little up. Boy, a lot of time. Actually, my mistake. That was on a linebacker that time. They had a matchup against a linebacker. I thought it was Jason David. You see max
Genatone.
Protection inside. Genatone was one-on-one, and boy, that's easy pickings. You got to give that one to the coaching staff. Chuck Long, Kevin Wilson had a matchup. They knew they went max protection, and they got an easy pitch and catch.
Now the Cougars will set sail here at the 2-minute mark, and let's check in with Jack.
Well, Brent, Antoine Savage says one of the things that makes him so effective as a wide receiver is the time that he spent playing quarterback in high school. He says, you don't understand how complex it is to play quarterback. He said, when I got out the flanker, he says, it was easy.
That's for sure. Hey, Brent, you know what's better than throwing a fade on a short corner? Throwing a fade on a linebacker.
It is a touch better. If you could get I couldn't believe the separation when we saw the first replay.
It didn't make sense to me either, but when I saw the last replay, it made a whole lot of sense, even for a little thumb call like by me.
High and short, out of bounds. At the 16-yard line, Sammy Moore coming up to field that short one. And a reminder now, coming up on the BMW halftime show, John and Terry will have highlights and analysis from today's bowl game. There's been a lot of action. And then when we're finished with this BCS game here in Pasadena, we'll send you down to New Orleans, and you'll watch Georgia and Florida State. You can see that Oklahoma dominating the possession clock, twice as many plays in this game. And the Cougars have not been held scoreless in the first half this year. They have 150 to do something about it before the snap.
You know, 40-20 plays isn't bad if it's 3-0, but when it starts to get 10-0, then that plays start to wear on you.
The critical play for the Cougars was that penalty, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
On that big pass play.
Dead ball.
Came
Ball
back.
start on the offense. Movement by the offensive line. 5-yard penalty. First down.
And that was self-inflicted. That was basically just lining up wrong.
Exactly.
A bad formation. It's nothing Oklahoma did to stop that play.
There's the yardage total. And so total domination by the Sooners so far. First and 15. Gesser looking for ways.
Seaman stopped. Bush stopped, turned around and looked. Gesser thought he was going to keep going. Now with Oklahoma having 2 timeouts left, Washington State is going to most likely have to punt this football. 2nd and 15. Watch Bush as he runs down the field. One-on-one coverage. Got Woolfolk. Okay. Close the space. Now watch as he turns back. He slows down and says, hey, oh wow, this ball was thrown farther than I thought. If he'd have just accelerated right at that shoulder of Woolfolk, he might have got there.
You know, do you see Woolfolk, Gary, when he turns his hips, make that transition?
In control
That is
all the
so
time.
tough to do and not lose speed. And Smith, the running back, to the 15-yard line. Dvoracek. Big number 94 again.
Stoops knows how to play this game too, though. Take a quick timeout. They want the ball back. Smelling the kill here.
Let's check in with Jack.
Well, Brent, if you take a look at this field, it's not painted green, it's really green. After the UCLA-Washington State game to end the season at the beginning of December, Rose Bowl officials came in here, tore up all of the turf. They put down brand new turf, 1 inch thick, and then an additional inch of sod, and able to make that turf be able to be seeded in very quickly. Now, each 4-foot by 30-foot section, 1 ton. I did the math. That means there's 150 tons of brand new turf here in the Rose Bowl.
Jack, you know more about agronomy than any man should ever know.
What's
1 inch
agronomy?
deep.
Jack, you need to sleep more at night.
It is, however, to follow up and emphasize Jack's point, it's as nice a surface as we have seen, and it is amazing that they can resod after a game a couple weeks ago and come up with something looking like this. Well, Jason Gesser here today is only 3 of 13, struggling against this OU defense.
Yeah, he's such a great college player. Leadership, he showed it. 3-time captain against UCLA. He showed how he put this Cougar team into the Rose Bowl, the heart of the champion, and man, I'll tell you, he's got great footwork. We are not seeing it here today. Brent, he's not 80%.
Anything less than 100 against this defense is tough. Look at him go down inside the 10-yard line with 1:26 left on the clock. Jimmy Wilkerson. So the co-defensive coordinators. There's Brent Venables on the left. Without the hat, Mike Stoops, the brother of Bob, working. There's the head coach.
Brent, do they have talk radio in Alabama? I wonder if they're going to question that field goal attempt. Who was in charge on that one? Do they second guess coaches there?
In Alabama? Never happened.
Never happened.
It's a gentleman's game, I told
right.
Mike. I said, Mike, don't worry about that Auburn game. That's just another game on the schedule, lad. Why not? There's no problem. Jack?
Well, Brent, you talk about Jason Gesser and what a great quarterback he is, and I know you alluded to the fact that maybe Jason Gesser was a little bit like Josh Heupel from OU a couple of years ago. I asked Mike Stoops that question before the start of the game, and he came up with the exact same name you did. So I said to him, well, then, you've played against Heupel before. He said, no, not the way we're going to have to play against Gesser.
Yes.
Yeah, but
they're doing a good job on him, Jack. 3 of 13 here for 81 yards. They have 1 interception. Hibble, meanwhile, is 10 of 17 for 162 yards. So we would give the quarterbacking edge to Hibble so far in this football game. He has Oklahoma ahead with his touchdown pass. And here comes this strong-looking punter. And you better believe that the Sooners will try to make them pay here again. Bosler to punt it. Perkins, number 28, very dangerous. Stands back on the 45-yard line. And they'll have plenty of time. Fielded at midfield. 1 to beat. Bosler. Put it on the board, folks. OU has just scored again. Hit me once out of bounds, but try to catch me in open field. And it is a 51-yard return for a touchdown. And now the Sooners are opening up a huge lead.
Bob Stoops has learned how to do it. He used his timeouts. 2 special teams plays back-to-back. The block field goal and the punt return for a touchdown. Bob Stute special teams, great athletes make great plays, and Perkins and Woelfel just made some great plays there. Boy, boy, oh boy. Bad use at the end of the football game, half here by Washington State. Cost them.
DeCarlo.
Toughest guy for Perkins to beat on that touchdown was the umpire. He had the best chance to tackle him. He had to fake him twice to get by him.
This is his 3rd punt return for a touchdown this year. He fielded it at midfield on the big hop, and he set sail. Got a block. May have gotten an illegal block as I look at that. There might have been a block in the back. Now he says, all right, Mr. Umpire, here we go. That's one move, and now the umpire picks off somebody for him. And the punter says, I believe I saw a block in the back early in that return.
Perkins was moving so fast, the ball hit the ground, and once Perkins got it on the run, you could see if you miss one play, this guy's going to bust it.
Let me go back and
I don't know, not there.
Right
there. Kind of the side, wasn't it? Either way, you going to go to second guess him on those or not? What do you think? Close enough? They've had 2 calls already on punt returns, and that one, they got him on the 3rd.
the Cougars have not fared well in touch-and-go situations here at the Rose Bowl. I go back to Ryan Leaf's game when he tried to spike the ball against Michigan with 2 seconds on the clock, and the clock ran out on Leaf and Price. That's not to say they would have winged it into the end zone on the next play, but to this day, the Cougar faithful will tell you that they were denied one last shot at that end zone. But here they're going to need more than just one last shot. I mean, the Sooners have dominated this game. Huge hit at the 22-yard line. And looks like Shelby, is that down there? A little bit shaken up on the play. Brandon Shelby.
Want to punt again here. So they have to at least, no timeouts by Oklahoma. They got an opportunity to throw at least once and see what happens.
What was a 3-point Oklahoma margin has now become 17, and Lehman sacks Gesser at the 17-yard line. You know, the Sooners come in here into this game with a little bit of a chip and something to prove as you watch Teddy Lehman. They felt they were snubbed a little bit when the committee out here said publicly that why don't we have Iowa in this Rose Bowl? And the Sooners took that personally. They said, wait a minute, we can play a little football, you know. We've got some tradition of our own, and Lehman and the boys bringing the heat now for Coach Stoops.
Nobody even tried to block him that time.
Green. The 32-yard line.
Well, Oklahoma's a great defensive football team. Moved the ball on offense. But Washington State was right there with 3 minutes to go in this half. They could have survived a very bad half. Got that blocked field goal, and then it just turned very quickly for them. It's always something, isn't it? It's always something.
Final 15 seconds. Matt Kegel. Well, that's something. They've come from behind in every game except the Idaho game. And folks, they led that one from beginning to end. It isn't that they rallied in that particular game. And of course, their 2 losses. Ohio State dominated them in the second half, and in overtime, arch rival Washington on a very controversial ending beat them in that game in Pullman. But in this game, Oklahoma, the offense, defense, and the special teams have dominated. Brent Musburger, Gary Danielson, and Jack Arute. And we've come to the end of the first half. It's all Sooners right now. It's 17-0. The Rose Bowl, presented by PlayStation 2, will return after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
This This is the BMW Halftime Show, brought to you by the new BMW Z4 Roadster, the ultimate driving machine. From Times Square in New York, here now, John Saunders and Terry Bowden.
The first day of the year 2003. Happy New Year from downtown New York City. As you can see, no snow here. It's not a white Christmas, not a white January the 1st. It's rainy and puddly and a mess. As for Washington State, they hope the mess that they've seen in the first half improves. What do they have to do?
I don't know. They're so aggressive, Oklahoma on defense. Washington State has got to mix the run with the passing game. Get the defensive backs to support the run. Then they can go to play action and throw over the top. If they don't do that, they're just going to get hit and hit and hit.
Yeah, 17-0 is a lot against Oklahoma and that defense as well. Now, earlier today, we began things here on ABC with a Capital One Bowl. Penn State against Auburn. Last time these two teams matched up, you were the coach of Auburn.
Don't bring that up. Don't bring that up. We didn't run the ball very well. Ronnie Brown ran the ball great. Did a great job of getting Auburn on top of that game.
184 yards he had. And this is NC State against Notre Dame. Phillip Rivers, 9 yards to Jericho Cotchery. Rivers, 23 of 37, 228 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Cotton Bowl, Texas against LSU. Chris Sims with a good day, but Roy Williams goes 39 yards here.
Well, they've got so many offensive weapons. Roy Williams, again, coming back next year, he says he can get that ball. 2 touchdown passes, great reverse for a touchdown right here.
Yeah, Sims, 15 of 28 for 2 and 269 yards overall. The Outback, Michigan against Florida. Boy, the Big Ten has looked very, very good this bowl season.
Well, Michigan looks great when they run the ball as well as they did today, and they passed it well on a Florida team that did not play well on defense at all.
Yeah, Chris Perry, 193 total yards, 4 rushing touchdowns, so Michigan gets the win. The Big Ten is now 4-1 right now. Back out to Pasadena and out again to Brent Musburger. Brent.
Part of the great tradition here at the Granddaddy is watching these bands when they come in. You've been listening to the pride of the Oklahoma Marching Band, the director, Brian Britt. We must pay a tribute to all the bands across the country when you're as privileged as we are to go from big stadium to big stadium throughout the fall and winter. You see how much work these youngsters pour into their efforts on the field. Let's give a listen now.
from the BMW halftime show here at the Rose Bowl in a moment.
Welcome back once again to the BMW halftime show. Yes, and the ladder leads to the Circuit City Trophy. The winner of the Tostitos Fiestival will walk off with that prize. John Saunders and Terry Bowden right now. Now, earlier today, we talked about Ken Dorsey, 38-1 as a career starter for Miami and the Hurricanes and a national championship. But Keith Jackson lets us know, don't sleep on the Buckeyes quarterback either.
Well, here you've got Ohio State playing for the national championship. And you know what? The quarterback, Craig Krenzel, is from Michigan. Now, that's enough to crack the earth in that part of the country. On top of that, he's easygoing, soft-spoken, probably going to wind up being a doctor. He's a top student, and he doesn't really care if his name's in the paper or not.
I've always been real laid back and real calm, and pretty much anything I do. You know, I try not to show a lot of emotion, and that's just natural for me. And you know, other guys get real excited and they get very emotional before games or on the field during games, and you know, I just kind of feed off their emotion, and I just try to remain relaxed and laid back.
Opposing coaches are not fools, and as the game wears on, neither are opposing players. But Miami coach Larry Coker knows well what Craig Krenzel can do to you.
He comes up with what's needed to move the chains and to win the football game. It just seems like when big plays need to be made and games are on the line, he makes those plays. He's just a tremendous competitor, and he comes up with plays when plays need to be made. And that's what you want from a quarterback.
Craig Krenzel, as a starting quarterback, has lost only once himself. Not as famous as Ken Dorsey, but he still only lost one game as a starting quarterback. By the way, go Cougs.
Keith, the class of 1954 at Washington State, and his team is struggling right now, down 17-0. Craig Krenzel, though, as a quarterback, is not expected to win the game by himself. Just don't hurt us.
No, I mean, Miami has the #1 pass defense in the country, so I don't think he's going to be expected to throw the ball more. He just needs to throw the ball just as efficiently as he has.
But do remember, he can win a game, as he did in that 4th and 1 earlier in the season. Now, Brent Musburger returns with more in just a moment of the BMW halftime show in the Cougar Band.
Well, the shadows almost completely engulfing the field right now as we enjoy the Cougar Marching Band. Their director is Don Howard. presented by PlayStation 2, returns after this word from our ABC station.
This has been the BMW Halftime Show, brought to you by the new BMW Z4 Roadster, the ultimate driving machine. We'll be back with the second half after this from our ABC stations.
We step out at the 10-yard line. The next thing you know, you're 17 points down. So it's we're close on offense. We just got to stick to what we're doing.
Brent, there's still a half to play here.
Yeah, indeed. But Jason Gesser's going to have to pick it up here, Gary. He's only 3 of 13. But you made a point. Washington State is not the first team to feel the sting of this defense.
I got a little quiz for you people. What does the number 2, the number 3, and the number 0 mean to you? I think Brent knows it, right, Brent?
Well, I remember the 2. That was Florida State.
The 3 was Arkansas in last year's bowl game, and the 0 was the first half. It's been back to 1999 since a touchdown in a bowl game had been scored on this defense. This is a great defense.
Absolutely. And we have thought all year that this is the defense that would match up against Miami and have a chance. What happened to them that day against Texas A&M and Oklahoma State? We don't know. But they were able to beat them back deep with that pass. But so far here today, the Cougars have not been able to reach the end zone. They'll get the first crack at it. Remember, they won the flip and they deferred. So the Cougars will have first possession here. 222 yards for Oklahoma in the first half, 105 for Washington State. Fielded right at the goal line. Jonathan Smith goes nowhere. Well, let's take a look at our Tostitos goal team comparison here, Gary, and you can see the total domination, 40 to 25 plays, OU.
Yeah, they've been successful at stopping the running game for Oklahoma, but it's 2 special teams plays, and we actually did take another look at that punt return during halftime, and there was a push in the back. Cougar fans won't like to hear that, will they?
No, certainly not. As Green is the running back. They open up with very bad field position against a lethal killer D. Green. To the 14-yard line. They need now to reach the 18 to keep this drive alive. And Bassey is shaken up, starting safety. There's a fellow on the sideline here at this game who'd like to dash out there and replace him and step in there, but Roy Williams' eligibility is gone, and he is now playing for Bill Parcells. And Parcells is going to love inheriting a safety like Roy Williams. Bassey, the youngster, stepping in from Garland, Texas.
Tough shoes to fill. He started every game this year. One of the fastest players in this football team, but I don't know what happened here. Did he get hit by one of his own guys? Yes, it was. Woolfolk whipped him. Woolfolk came in to make the tackle, and that's usually what happens. One of your own guys, when you're just completely helpless, you can usually avoid one of your own guys, but when your own guy gets you, that's it. Let's take one more look. Brent saw it. We saw one replay of it, of the last touchdown at punt return. You are going to see a push in the back. Coming right here. There it is. There's the hand on the back very clearly. That's the play. We saw one angle. It didn't get a clear shot of it. That clearly was a push in the back. I think Oklahoma had done it, twice they'd had penalties on returns. Bobby worked the officials a little bit and got that call. They just plain missed it.
Jack, I'm sure, will check on Bassey. Meanwhile, Brodney Poole, number 23, a freshman out of the Houston area. So many great athletes come out of Houston. Man, every time you see Texas and all those schools down there and up to Oklahoma. Now here he is. Number 23, certainly the assistants upstairs have identified him. And they will see what they can do. Jason Gesser obviously well aware. He still has Everidge there. They'll slide it to Riley on the outside for a first down. And it crosses the 30-yard line to the 31. Riley has been perhaps the best of the receivers for Washington State here so far today. They've got one pass into Darling's hands. That was very, very early in the game for 29 yards.
And that's really what Oklahoma has done, because coming into this game, the 3 receivers, Darling, Riley, and Bush, have led the team in receiving with 49, 48, and 48 receptions. Those 3 go-to guys have not been able to get the ball today.
Bush out to the outside. The one-time basketball player. It's a 5-pack. Mitchell trying to blitz and get there if he can. They throw in underneath to Bush, and he picks up about 8 yards before Everidge makes the stop. So they're trying to move the ball into the middle of the field, trying to get at young Poole if they can.
Gesser had good time to throw that one, but he still took a hit as he let go of the ball. I don't know if it's just Jason's sense of time. He holds the ball as long as he can. He kind of feels that rush and goes as long as he can. But Oklahoma's front four has been putting the hits on him in this game.
Now Matt McCoy comes off the sideline, and he will try it. Back there along with Poole. So McCoy coming up on run support. And the Cougars, with Green, pick up another first down at the 48-yard line. Lehman makes the stop.
Jason Gesser was 3 for 13 in the first half, and it was tough sledding. Had a couple of ones that were just completed out of bounds, but you can see it. Only the two short ones behind the line of scrimmage. Those were on screens. This also does, I've just been told, include this quarter, so it's up to the date. But nothing big. No big yards, no big running catches. Oklahoma's pass defense has stood tall. I guess when you have two corners, that's what's so puzzling. You mentioned it. You get beat by the long passes and the two losses. When you have straight and roll folk, how does that happen?
Everidge comes up and run support, and play is whistled dead before it starts here by our crew from the SEC. Sooners lead it by 17.
Dead ball foul. Offsides on the defense. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Let's take a look at how they got beat. And like Gary, we have puzzled over this all year long. McNeil for the Aggies off the pump fake. Man wide open, daylight. Then it was Fields for Oklahoma State. Thrown to one of the great wide receivers, Sean Woods. Even Brent Venables and Mike Stoops. As you can see, the big plays that went down in those two losses. So now it's a 1st and 5 for the Cougars. This is the opening series of the second half. Being shut out, bringing the end around, and it is very well defended by Oklahoma. Number 49, Jonathan Jackson.
He's had a big game. Had the pressure on Gesser on that interception when he got slid inside. This was going to be a reverse pass on this play. Receivers were downfield, but you can't get away from the defensive end. You're not going to throw the ball.
Jack, what's the situation with young Bassey?
Well, Brent, expect to see Eric Bassey back in competition. They put a rubber neoprene sleeve over his right knee. They don't see any problems with it. They're just getting him buttoned up right now.
Good to hear for the Sooner backers and the young man. High, deflected, intercepted off of Darling's hands. And Everidge brings it to the 41-yard line. The second interception against Jason Gesser here today.
This was inaccurate also. You can't blame Darling on this one. The ball was thrown extremely early. Great anticipation by Jason Gesser, but when you're not accurate in that situation, your receiver really has to make a tough catch. This ball was a little wide. He only got one hand up on it. Watch how early Gesser throws the ball. Darling is only able to get one hand, just barely tip it, and costs an interception.
The Sooners D still pitching a shutout in Pasadena. Oklahoma shutting out Washington State, the Big 12 over the Pac-10. And those of you who follow these things, and don't a lot of us, how conferences do in the bowl season, you have to say off the top of your head the Big 10 may have been underrated. In the Pac-10, you're wondering about their problems so far in the bowl games. And here in the Rose Bowl presented by PlayStation 2, they're being shut out by the Sooners of the Big 12. And around, and they're going to throw the flea flicker off of it. Hibble still trying to look for somebody, and nobody opened up. Quentin Griffin was the intended receiver, working down the sideline, and he couldn't break free. Jeremy Williams, defensive tackle from Spokane, deserves a lot of credit.
Well, the guy that everyone kind of thought wasn't good enough to lead this team has had an excellent Rose Bowl in this football game. Done a great job. He's 10 for 17. You can see it in his medium yardage passes right there. Look at that. 2 for 3, 2 for 3, 3 for 3. That's the mark of a quarterback picking those zones apart. And Hibble has been wonderful in this Rose Bowl appearance today.
Mark Clayton split way out to the right, along with Curtis Fagan. Second down, they throw back underneath to Will Peoples to the 40-yard line. They must reach the 32 for a first down. So this will be third and workable coming up. Davis makes the stop for the Cougars.
unbelievable. Those offensive players that have been with this team for so long. Remember, they won that national championship, and the guys that won it on offense, Fagan, Savage, Woolfolk, Smith, Griffin, they're still on this team 2 years later, and there's a whole new wave of young receivers, Peoples and Clayton, Jones, that are just going to take up right where they go. Wonderful recruiting. There's got a lot of talent on this football team.
It's a base 4-3 defense for the Cougars here on the 3rd. Trying to rush 4 and get there. They can't. And right to the middle for a first down. Just inside the 30-yard line. He goes to his roommate, Trent Smith.
3rd down is Trent's down every time they need one. We've watched them for 2 years now. Every time they need a 3rd down play, they go to their kind of in between wide receiver slash tight end, H-back, whatever you want to call them. You know, it's no surprise right here. Got a strong safety on him. Abdullah's on him. But just go out, hook. It's about as easy as it can get and move the chains.
Just about Quentin Griffin time. He's off to the left. He gets the handoff. Breaks free. And muscles his way to the 11-yard line. This young man, certainly not as ballyhooed as some of the other running backs in the country, but NFL scouts are paying attention to Quentin Griffin, and he will be picked maybe in the 2nd round. He is a muscular 5'7" running back.
Kind of gets lost in the pile right here. Everybody thinks he's down. All of a sudden he squirts out the other side, and yeah, he's one of those guys. When you put the tape on, you watch 1 game, 5 games, 8 games. Okay, he's a good little player. If you watch him play 30 games, you say, I want him on my team. In any level.
He's up there with Billy Sims, Steve Owens, the great legends who have come through Norman. First down now inside the 15-yard line using the fullback J.D. Runnels. Runnels straight ahead to the 10-yard line. So we are live from Pasadena, California. And in the Rose Bowl, we've had a pair of touchdowns. Nate Hibble throwing for 1 to Antoine Savage. Then the punt return, the killer, by Antonio Perkins out of Lawton, Oklahoma. The Sooners kicked a field goal on the opening possession of the game, and they lead this Rose Bowl 17-0 with 9 minutes to go in the 3rd, and they're stuck in another one. Nothing doing for Griffin. Swallowed up at the 15-yard line, and of course coming up right after us, the Nokia Sugar Bowl. Georgia of the SEC, Florida State of the ACC. Bobby Bowden has suffered losses and problems at the quarterback position. Mark Richt and the Georgia Bulldogs. I can just imagine how many Georgia fans there are down on Bourbon Street for this game.
Tremendous year for Georgia. Well, that Davis, Mawuli Davis, that middle linebacker. I mean, imagine what a great story. Made that tackle right there. Transferred to Washington State. Had to sit out. He transferred for 1 year of eligibility, and he worked his way up to be a starter on this football team.
There's 3rd and 11 for Hibble. Has the middle. Will they throw the flag? They do not. Incomplete, and the coverage by Marcus Trufant. A lot of scouts watching his timing on that play as he broke across. He's an All-American cornerback. He's very highly touted.
Yeah, this is the first time they've thrown at Trufant in the whole football game. Smith clears. It's an easy play inside. Ball is thrown in the exact right spot. That should have been caught for a touchdown. That's where you put it as a quarterback, and Mark Clayton, I know, wanted that one for a touchdown in the Rose Bowl.
Trey DiCarlo for the 30-yarder. They've kicked one, faked one. And this one he adds for his 2nd field goal of the game. Stoops and the Sooners lead it by 20, dominating the Cougars.
The Rose Bowl game presented by PlayStation 2. This ABC Sports exclusive presentation brought to you by PlayStation 2. Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. Dodge. Circuit City. We're with you. And National Security, starring Martin Lawrence, in theaters soon.
Oklahoma's first appearance ever in a Rose Bowl, and they're making the most of it. And The official had not dropped his hand.
Little Charlie Brown thing right there, huh?
It really was. Lucy pulled the ball right out from under his legs. That's still one of the great moments in footballdom. We'll take a knee and bring it out on the 20. Well, here's our Dodge defensive playbook, Gary.
Well, it's speed up front. Watch this Oklahoma defensive line on the reverse. They're going to the right. Every guy is slanting to the right. And the line, Jackson, watch him redirect and stop the reverse pass. When you guys got up front that run like this, go down, go one way, and redirect back the other way. You know those Stoops? You have to be real smart to coach guys like this. These guys can play.
So folks down in Alabama, Gary, might be getting a little uneasy. Watching this offense here. First down and 10. They'll try the toss play. Number 25, now the running back. That's John Tippins, the senior from nearby Santa Monica, California. You know, the Sooners have never played in the Rose Bowl, but certainly their coaching staff has been here before. Bob Stoops, Mike Stoops, Jonathan Hayes, Chuck Long, 4 of them played on an Iowa team that lost to Washington back in the '82 Rose Bowl. Chuck Long, a quarterback. He was the starting quarterback on an Iowa team that lost to UCLA in the '86 Rose Bowl. The offensive coordinator upstairs calling the plays. And
the only player to play in 5 bowl games in his career.
Because of an injury.
That's right. Well, the Big Ten changed their recruiting, their redshirting rule, too.
Riley.
That's an error by
First
Washington
down.
State. They moved. They're going to come back. You know, they shot themselves in the foot again.
Well, this is definitely against the Cougars, so it's coming back.
That's when that beast starts to come in for Washington State. It's easy to blame somebody else. Oh, coach left us. Feeling sorry for myself right now. It's not me. It's something else.
Well, Bob Stoops and Mike Stoops were defensive backs on that Iowa Hawkeye team. There's Bob. Number 41 came across, made the tackle, was injured. So number 2, his brother Mike replaced him. Now watch 2. Oh yeah, that's a defensive guy right there, you know. And here's Chuck Long in the '86 Rose Bowl, hoisting one to the end zone for a touchdown. And, Jonathan Hayes was also on that team with head coach Bob Stoops. What do you say? He came down the field on one special team, got his lunch handed to him, and that was it. Right?
Yeah, he said he got 1 play, and I said, I feel sorry for you, Jonathan. That's 1 more than I got.
Second down and 9. Just an outstanding all-around coaching staff. Incomplete, misfiring. Gesser is now 5 of 17. And here are the assistant coaches who have come off that Iowa Hawkeye team. You can see the 4 we've talked about on the right. But look at Bill Snyder, Barry Alvarez, Dan McCarney, and Kirk Ferentz.
Can I write a name on there? How about Hayden Fry on there? Okay.
The Godfather.
The Godfather of all this stuff right here.
Absolutely. Jonathan Hayes, the special teams coach, does an outstanding job. Remember, they've blocked a field goal. They've returned a punt for a touchdown. Doesn't get any better than that. When you talk about complete coaching staffs around the country, you can do worse than starting with this Oklahoma group. They're a pleasure to be around. And Bassey, who's back on the field, ran the receiver out of bounds after an 8-yard gain. Scott Lundy, the junior from Vancouver, Washington.
It's too bad we're not seeing Jason Gesser at his best here. I mean, we saw him earlier against Ohio State. I've seen him on tape so much. A wonderful football player. And you know, God love him here. He's saying he's 80%, but he's really not. He's throwing early. He can feel the pressure now, and he's just guessing on a lot of throws.
Here's Bosler back to punt, and Antonio Perkins, he'd like to get himself another one. Out of bounds.
Funny how that happens. Return run, you get a bad punt afterwards, huh?
Indeed. So it'll be spotted around the 35-yard line. Oklahoma's defense, they have held Washington State to 146 total yards. They've limited Gesser to 6 of 18. Timeout.
This is the Rose Bowl game presented by PlayStation 2.
Well, we're back in Pasadena with the Sooners shutting out the Cougars 20-0. Quentin Griffin has been limited to 66 yards. Remember, he came in here on a 9-game run of 100+ yards. But in the process, Hibble has been able to take dead aim. He's 12 of 20 in this game as the Sooners go back with the running game. And look at Quentin Griffin battling away.
I'll tell you, that one right there, I'm impressed. That is balance. That is strength. We know how quick he is. I mean, this is at any level. I don't care if he's playing in the NFL. If you try to arm tackle this guy, does not turn the ball over. He catches the ball. You know, I've seen him block on blitzes. I know he can do that. I mean, this guy is going to be a wonderful professional football player.
I think he's determined to get that 100. He's got 71
He's going
now.
to get it. He's going to get it if he doesn't get hurt.
He's coming back. So this running game that is so vastly improved, and he stopped after picking up a couple more. We asked Bob Stoops about the progress of the Sooners running game.
We used to only be able to run when the defense allowed us by alignment to have an opportunity. Now we can run when we want to run, and that's been a big factor for us. And it's been a big factor in our success in the red zone, in short yardage, and fourth down plays.
I know, Gary, you were very impressed at their performance against Colorado.
Yes,
in the Big Club
they took a chance.
game.
Bob tried to do this, and you know, Brent, 10 consecutive games Oklahoma has run the ball, attempted to run the ball at least 30 times. Commitment has paid off.
High, and they wanted a penalty. The Oklahoma sideline got it. They got the late call. Stoops led the charge, and the field judge comes up to throw the flag, and a fresh set of downs for the Sooners.
You always have a chance to get one when you throw to your own bench. Jason David was the guy who was on coverage that time. You always have a chance because you're over there and you're in his ear, and finally the call comes.
Pass interference on the defense. Penalty will be enforced at the spot of the foul. Automatic first down.
The crowd is booing because the call was late. But as we looked at it live, I thought David was up on him and had an arm wrapped around him. But again, when the flag came out so late into the play, and maybe the official had a little difficulty even taking it out of his pocket, but that usually incites the fans.
Well, there definitely was contact. I mean, there was contact.
So it's first down for Hibble and the Sooners. Strike underneath the Peoples. Fumble! The Cougars!
What they needed. Washington State could not give up another point if they have any chance of coming back in the game, and they finally got a turnover.
Eric Coleman recovers the fumble. That is the first Sooner turnover of the game. But now can the Cougars offense answer the bell here?
Pitch and catch, quick hitch. Peoples gets it, tries to make one of those run and guns, but the hand goes right on the football for the turnover. About as safe as a throw and run as you could have, and all of a sudden Oklahoma gives the football back.
John Tippins leaving the field. 4 wide receivers. Gesser changes up, moves under center. Flips it to Riley. Behind a block to midfield.
And those audibles again. If that slot is uncovered, you will audible to it. Oklahoma was really not ready to play. Andre Woolfolk was running out there. He didn't have his mouthpiece, and I think that quick turnover right there really caught the defense drinking a little Gatorade on the sideline. If I'm Washington State, I know that they have to put points every time they get the ball the rest of this game.
At midfield. We'll come back to the right side with Riley. But ball put down, and Oklahoma goes after it. But it'll be second down. The linesman up there, marking it down right there. These aerial views are courtesy of the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. Their newest blimp is up there. That's the Spirit of America, folks. Brand new. Looks sparkling up there, doesn't it? That continues a 78-year tradition as the aerial ambassador and icon of the 105-year-old company.
When you throw to the wide side of the field in the bubble screen, it'll be number 11 chasing it down. He plays the wide side of the field. When you throw to the short side, it'll be number 10, Lance Mitchell, and that was Mitchell who put the hand on the football that time.
Second and long for Gesser under center. Draw play, Green, nothing doing. Only for about a yard, nothing more because of Jimmy Wilkerson. Jack
Well, Brent, Mike Price, as you know, is coaching in this game as a lame duck, and you would think, is that the first time it's ever happened in college football? No. In fact, we did some research and found out that a man known as the Gray Eagle, the Silver Fox, Bernie Bierman, was the first to do it when he coached Tulane to an 11-0 season, only to return to his alma mater, Minnesota. He stayed for Tulane's bowl game, but lost the 1932 Rose Bowl.
That'll be a penalty. 12 men in the huddle. Another unforced error for Washington State.
Action on the offense. That'll be a 5-yard penalty. Third down.
Can't have 12 people in the huddle. It was either 12 men in the huddle and they went down to 11, or it was 11 men in the huddle and they went down to 10. I'm thinking it was 12 down to 11.
Either way, not looking good for the team from the Palouse. Mike Price leaving right after this game for Tuscaloosa after he cleans out his office. Gesser's in trouble. That was the safety. Brandon Everidge coming up on a safety blitz, the junior from Granger, Texas.
It was so nicely disguised. Everidge waited and waited. He knows that Gesser is a very smart quarterback. He waited until the last second. Watch this late movement across. The safety comes from the other side. Gesser can't get away from anybody. That's how he hurt his ankle before. It almost happened again, his 4th sack.
Bosler punting again. He's been the busiest of the Cougars here. Big hop, but certainly Perkins did not want to risk any kind of a mistake at this point, leading by 20 points. So he just let the ball roll out of bounds. Didn't need to make a play there, didn't need to force anything. And it's all Sooners in Pasadena. This is the picture that clogged the freeways of Southern California. This picture of the Rose Bowl on New Year's Day caused millions to pick up and move to Southern California. Now there's one who hasn't quite made the move yet.
We had a great tradition on New Year's Day of watching this game when I was growing up, and my parents were not allowed to leave my aunt and uncle's house until this game was over.
Yeah, absolutely. So many of us grew up with it. I certainly remember the great Ron Vanderkellen and the losing effort for Wisconsin against USC and Pete Bethard that day. And nothing much doing for the running game for number 22 that time, Quentin Griffin. 497 consecutive touches now without a fumble lost. Although I do remember back in the Big 12 championship against Colorado, it was close. Put the ball on the ground and then got it on one hop. He recovered it himself to keep the record intact. As a matter of fact, Bob Goodrich, our alert producer, is all over. There it was.
Had one today too, right?
Well, he was out of bounds first. Actually, before
did he step out? Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Second down. Fake by Hibbles, a slick one. Hit Smith, but the Cougars were ready for that. That was Marcus Trufant. Impressing the scouts for that. Let me remind everybody now to go over to ESPN Game Day Friday live in Tempe. They're going to preview the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl at 7 Eastern time. Maurice Claret making some headlines down there, giving the lads some stories, isn't
So
he?
you don't know whether he's firing them up or he's feeling the pressure. You know, I mean, knowing Claret, I don't think he feels the pressure.
Ronaldo works now on the field for the Sooners on this 3rd and 5. Owned down, and the Sooners are forced to punt.
You can see it 20-0. There's no way that Nate Hibble is going to take any chances with the football. Jeremy Williams that time was the guy that got in there on the sack, but Hibble is staying conservative, not making any dangerous throw in that situation. Might as well punt the ball until he has to take the try for those throws. Kind of like Krenzel plays quarterback sometimes.
Mistake-free leader, very brainy quarterback. So Blake Ferguson with his 4th punt of the day for the Sooners.
Washington State needs a big play. Something. Block punt, punt return, something.
They were closing in. Trufant down at the 42-yard line. One of the big storylines of this game so far is how the Cougars wide receivers have been bottled up. Jason Gesser has completed only 8 passes, and 5 of them to Riley for 80 yards. That means that Darling and Bush have caught only 1 apiece in this game. The 2 corners, I had a chance to speak with Lynn Stiles and Carl Peterson from the Kansas City Chiefs, who were here at halftime. And I was raving about Woolfolk and, you know, joking they should take him home on the plane. But they said that Strait is just as good. They said both these corners are just outstanding. And Lehman on the blitz takes Gesser down at the 30-yard line. I believe that is the 5th sack of Jason Gesser here today.
Why, oh why, Jason Gesser saying it was a bad snap, but he was not able to handle it with his bad foot, and bad snap was a sack.
10 of these OU starters on defense come back next year. Back after this message and a word from our ABC station.
Rose Bowl game presented by PlayStation 2 on ABC.
Gary, here's the deal. Bill Doba, it's time. 3 quarters are being shot out. just move to the front right now, and let's let Doba take over for the last quarter.
You know, Brent, I don't care if Washington has 2 coaches, 1 coach, 3 coaches, 0 coaches. They're in trouble. Oklahoma's a good football team.
It's a real good football team, folks. I mean, they have proved it to us all year long.
Yes,
Gesser fires. Got in underneath now. Remember, it was 2nd and very long. They get back to about the original line of scrimmage with Scott Lundy making his 2nd grab of the game. Today's attendance, 86,848 here at the Granddaddy on just a superb day for a football game. It hasn't triggered simply because Washington State hasn't been able to do much.
I'll tell you, if you're going to beat Oklahoma's defense, you must be balanced. And Washington State has run the ball for 6 yards in this football game. I know there's sacks involved, but they've not been able to establish any balance against this defense.
Lead 12 here. They throw it down underneath to Riley. He's going to have to get upfield. Can't. Down at midfield, short of that 1st down.
And now you got to wonder, 4th quarter here, 20-0. Do you go for 4th and shorts? Let's see who decides on this one.
He just said, yep.
I mean, you almost have to. Don't you have to play this early? You got to go for it.
Sammy Moore comes onto the field. Sure, you need 3 scores now.
Yes.
This is a very makeable 1st down. You could actually, well, they open up with a pass formation. They're not indicating they're going to run. I was going to say that Green had been able to find daylight. The Sooners will burn a timeout facing this 4th down.
Yeah, I think it was a good one by Mike Stoops that time. I mean, they go 0 running backs, surprised them.
There's some fine college football players down there with Stoops, folks. Seven 1st downs, 6 rushing yards, 1 of 9 on 3rd down, 150 total yards, and Price and the Cougar staff just searching for answers. Here is the 4th down play from the gun. Quick snap, bobbled. Are they going to give it to him? The linesman's going to mark it, call it complete.
Man.
And many times you will see officials wave that off and call it incomplete, but Jerome Riley.
He threw the beanbag, though. When they throw the beanbag, that usually means a cut ball and a drop ball. Coming across, you see the blitz right here. Ball is perfectly thrown. Caught, 1, 2. Yeah, I think he had it. Beanbag goes down. Let's see if we can see the beanbag in the picture. I don't. Yeah, see the beanbag.
In the interest of network ratings, nice call. 1st down for the Cougars.
I think he caught that one.
Inside the 45-yard line. Just kidding.
And you need to get the ball to Devin Darling. There's another unforced error.
Oh, mercy. They're just shooting themselves in the foot, and Darling was wide open. But it doesn't matter. It's going to be penalty number 9 against the Cougars. This will put them over 50 yards. Twice as many penalties as the Sooners here today. This is not the way to enter the Tuscaloosa city limits, I might add, ladies and gentlemen. This is not the way to storm into town.
Well, I think of Jason Gesser. I mean, you know, when you run this offense, half of your football offense is your quarterback, and he is not 80%. You would agree with that. We're not seeing a real Jason Gesser today. when you have this type of offense, you need at least 2 healthy quarterbacks.
First down and 15 and
4-down territory.
These are the kind of plays that Roy Williams used to tee off on when he was a great safety. They'll set the screen and it's incomplete. Speaking of Roy, he's down below with Jackaroo. Jack.
Yeah, Brent Musburger, you're right. He did love those kind of plays when you were playing for the Sooners, and you kind of like them nowadays too, don't you?
Oh yeah, they're doing an excellent job, man. I'm excited for our defense.
All right, I want to ask you a quick question about your new coach, Bill Parcells. What do you think?
I heard he's a tough coach, and but I heard he's fun to play for. And
have they confirmed that he is going to be your coach?
Yes, they have, and the press conference will be tomorrow.
Brent, we're going to ask him one more question, but we got to get back to this play.
Now we want to come right back, and second down. Bill Parcells loves great defensive players, and Williams has got a chance. Darling, incomplete. Back we go to Jack and Roy.
Roy, I want you to take a look at a play a couple of years ago, right here. See if you remember this.
I bet you I know who.
Okay. Put you on Sports Illustrated last year. How about this one?
No, I wasn't on the cover. I think I should have had the cover, but Jimmy Wilkinson had the cover sacking Sims. But the play was an awesome play.
Is that indicative of the type of coaching and the type of defensive philosophy here at Oklahoma?
Yeah, the Coach Stoops put a great scheme in, and all we do is go out there and execute it.
All right, Roy, thanks a lot.
Appreciate it.
Brent, I think he got a guy named Sims, didn't he?
Yes, indeed. Third down. Sims got a bowl victory today. Texas against LSU. They throw underneath the Darling, who slips out, and I think we've come back now to another fourth and short here, haven't we? Another go for Washington State.
I'll tell you, Stoops on third down is coming at Gesser. He knows he can't scramble. He's going to get hit again. This is the 8th hit he's taken after he's thrown the ball. He has paid the price. They keep coming after him, and fourth and short, got to go.
Went back to the middle, remember, and Riley the last time. Riley able to recover his fumble and keep this drive going. So they'll come out in that gun again.
Fourth and less than a yard, no running backs.
Deflected, incomplete, Oklahoma football.
My. Not even a threat of a run on fourth and very, very short. You're one-dimensional against a good defense. Ask Texas Tech, Clint Kingsbury, what it's like to throw against a team if you don't have a running game.
You got that right. Timeout.
The Rose Bowl game presented by PlayStation 2. This ABC Sports exclusive presentation brought to you by PlayStation 2. Ford Trucks. Preview the next generation Ford F-150 at an auto show near you. New Tostitos Gold. The perfect chip for hearty dips. When you've got Tostitos, you've got a party. And Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Sooner fans poured into Southern California, snapped up 25,000 tickets as soon as they went on sale, and they've been great fans. First down and 10, and it's easier to root for a winner in a team like this. What a magnificent defensive performance we are seeing. Hibble on a nice fake, rolls and complete to the 39-yard line. And now you wonder about the problems of Washington State here and some of the other Pac-10 teams, and you wonder what it means for the Trojans of USC when they take on Iowa tomorrow at the FedEx Orange Bowl.
You know what I like about Iowa is Kirk Ferentz built this team over the long haul. He was patient. He built an offensive line. They can run and throw, and as Brad Banks has gotten better, they're just tough to stop. Double-edged team, boy, on offense and defense.
Second down and 5. Here comes Quentin. He's determined.
You know, he just, I was trying to find a guy that reminds me of. He reminds me of Warwick Dunn. Maybe bigger than Warwick Dunn, though, huh?
Maybe a little thicker if you look at his legs, Gary.
Boy, just quick. I mean, he's going to go to a football team and just be a wonderful single-back running back.
9 yards, and he'll break 100 again. Needs just 9 more now. And Quentin Griffin
Wouldn't it be something if the Lions got him? I mean, they got Steve Owens. They got Billy Sims. I mean, come on. Why not take him?
Would he want to go there?
Why not? We pay. We pay.
Middle, Hibble. Dive, but incomplete. Curtis Fagan laying out. Well, you know, you mentioned Steve Owens and Billy Sims, and back when it was the Big Eight, they rushed for 100 yards in every conference game. Big Steve pounded away in 69, and then it was the legendary Billy Sims in 78. He did the same thing. Just great running backs have come out of the Oklahoma Sooner program through the years, and now Bob Stoops will lose one on Quentin Griffin. I say that Quentin Griffin may be tougher to replace than the quarterback next year on this team, now that I think about it.
It's possible. It is. You know, we got one more little linkage to the Lions here. How about Barry Sanders from Oklahoma?
That's
a little state.
Come on,
I know. He's from the state of Oklahoma. Come on, I'm begging.
Yeah, you know, somebody asked a couple of the coaches about comparing Quentin with the great Barry Sanders. He said, no, you really can't compare anybody to Barry Sanders. That's unfair to Barry and what he brought. And a little bit of a different style runner, but just a great effort player. I think one of the most underrated players this year, because there have been so many defensive stars. I mean, you don't blame the media, but there's been so many stars on the Oklahoma team to talk about that you tend to overlook him. He did put 248 up on Texas.
There it is again. Third down is Trent down.
Number 88 picks it up, Gary, right there. Has the first down.
You know how I feel. If I was a college coach tomorrow, I would go everywhere to find a tight end. College football, hey, pro football, they do not match up with tight ends. Kansas City has a great one. Look at the Giants now with a great tight end. When you have one of those guys, Kellen Winslow, look at Miami back, even, you know, Miami with Kellen Winslow Jr. When you have one of those guys that can make things happen, that really, really throws off a defense.
Shockey looks like he could be a great player, huh?
Yes.
You called that when we covered the Canes last year. You love that rascal. Here comes Quentin again, trying to pick up some more as he shakes that first tackle.
Yeah, they're quick.
And makes his way to the 31-yard line. And let's look at the Nokia player comparison. It's Gesser and Hibble, and Gesser struggling against this defense. And there you see 2 interceptions by Jason and the 1 touchdown for Hibble. That would be the big difference.
You know, I still do. They have to get it to this Washington State defense. I mean, they've had the ball, you know, they've been on field all game, 59 plays so far. Washington State's offensive is nothing, and they've given up 13 points. I mean, that's good defensive football. It's good enough to win against a pretty explosive football team here. It's been Washington State's offense that has not come through in this game.
Second down. Hibble rolling to the left off the fake. Firing complete to number 4, Wilson. Travis Wilson, the freshman from Texas, makes his first grab of the game, and it's a beauty.
Well, Nate Hibble has improved so much in the last couple of years. Remember, Jason White was the starting quarterback for this team. He beat out Nate Hibble. Didn't know if Hibble would even get on the field again. Some thought that Brett Rawls would move up to number 2 and he would move down to number 3. Then injury, and look at this. Accurate, a little bit behind though. Nice catch by Wilson, and Hibble does not make mistakes. We saw 4 of his 8 interceptions in one game. In the other 12, he's thrown 4 total. What a year. That's a great year.
Now on the first down, here comes Griffin. Driving for 100 now, and he will pass it with that run. Quentin Griffin has now reached 105 yards with 22 carries. He has done it again.
How about that? 10 straight games, right? 10 straight games rushing for 100 yards. Got to give a little credit to Bob Stoops here. He said, I want to be able to run the ball. He went out and hired Kevin Wilson, the running game coordinator out of Northwestern. Remember, Northwestern ran that spread run game. Got the best guy. There's Kevin. Brought him in here. Brought some toughness to that offensive line and really now know how to run the football. That's what I think Washington State needs to learn how to do with their spread. Run the ball from the spread.
Going to give one back, I believe, on that. Well, NBA Saturday on ABC. The Dallas Mavericks and the Philadelphia 76ers. Dallas running away to a big lead in the
in the Western Conference. Here in the Los Angeles area, of course, they're waiting for the Lakers to regroup. They've now won a couple games in a row. They get perhaps their longest break of the year, I believe, before they play Phoenix. But can't say enough about what Dallas has done, and you get a chance to see him against Philadelphia. Bill Doba takes over next year as the Cougar coach. Here it is, second down. Middle was covered. Hibble on the run. Throws for it incomplete. And Trufant was there defensively. Marcus Trufant making a play in the secondary for the Cougars.
Yeah, Clayton said put it up there by the goalpost. I can go. What do you think we do all those vertical jumps for? If you put it high, I could have had that one. Trufant lays out and makes it. You know, we talk about this run game, and we talk about how many guys return for the defense for Oklahoma, but this whole offensive line returns except for Skinner, and he's been replaced pretty comfortably all year also. So, you know, they lose some receivers and they lose Griffin, but this team comes back almost intact. You know, I mean, they could be the leader in the clubhouse for next season.
Hibble's going to burn a timeout. So we'll take a break. Third down coming up for the Sooners, and they're shutting out Washington State. The Rose Bowl presented by PlayStation 2. Oklahoma 20, Washington State nothing. And another streak is at risk here. Jason Gesser has thrown a touchdown pass in 24 consecutive games, and bowl games count this year. And when they get the ball back inside of this 8-minute mark, he'll be working against this. Now for the Sooners on third down. On the run, fires, touchdown in the corner of the end zone. Number 12, Curtis Fagan, the senior from Houston. And that just about does it.
What a throw by Gesser. Then they're going to get a celebration penalty at the end of it. Hibble just threw this one off his wrong foot. What a wonderful throw. Rolls out to the outside here. Gets forced out of the pocket. Watch Hibble throw this ball almost getting hit right on the button. Nate Hibble, a wonderful football game.
An unsung hero for this team has been Nate Hibble, number 8. Here's a young man who lost his job, lost it a couple of times at Oklahoma, and probably got a celebration penalty on now. The ball's being brought all the way back to the 18-yard line, but you know, he never gave up, stayed right with it, didn't pout, and when he finally got this final chance, made the most of it.
Remember a couple years ago after Josh Heupel left, I said Nate Hibble's going to have to win a game someday. You know, he has shown us that he can win a football game. What a wonderful career for Nate Hibble.
Now DeCarlo on the extra point after the penalty's good.
Nice to have that defense to play with, though. Oh. That makes it easier.
13 consecutive quarters of shutout football for the Sooners. And here's Hibble, his second touchdown pass of the game. Could well be the player of this Rose Bowl. Nate Hibble today, 18 of 28 for 239 yards, 2 touchdowns, and not a single interception. Taking those snaps over there on the sideline, perhaps getting it back up center ready, and some of the reserves playing with the score 27-0 now, and 8 minutes to go. High, short kickoff. Fielded on the 18-yard line by Smith.
They got athletes everywhere, don't they?
Coverage team. Gary, let's take a look at our FedEx air and ground stats.
You can see it right there. When you out-throw a team that does nothing but throw, you have a good chance to win it. But this Oklahoma defense has been too much. They stopped the running game for Washington State. Oklahoma has run just enough. I'll give it to Washington State's defense. I knew they were underrated, but this Oklahoma defense, boy, you know Oklahoma wins this game, Brent, but don't they just wonder what if? I mean, what if they win the 2 games they're supposed to win? Might they not? Wouldn't they have been in the BCS ratings higher than Ohio State?
They've been playing Friday night.
Wow.
Because they had that lead. Miley.
You know, Buckeye fans don't want to hear it, but
fans. Everidge makes the stop now, and let's as we hone in on this defense earlier in the game, and the number of times that Jason Gesser went down Jackson, and then Lehman coming in from the backside. It's been relentless, and it's been everyone on that defense. Everyone on the Oklahoma defense has contributed here today. For Venables, they're on the left, and Mike Stoops over on the right. The co-defensive
coordinators, and both of whom someday could wind up being head coaches someplace.
He's been sacked 5 times and hit 8 times after he's released the ball in the pocket. This is when that beast is really coming. It's been the second half. That beast has been in Washington State's head, feeling sorry for themselves.
You know, Stoops told us that it was important to come here and win.
We want to win it, you know, and our team does. We have all the great trophies and championship trophies and bowl trophies we have in our great Switzer Center. We don't have a Rose Bowl trophy, and who knows when we'll get another opportunity. So our players really want it, and we do as coaches.
They came in with an edge, this Oklahoma team, and Washington State came in with a distraction, and it has meant a huge difference. And Oklahoma has focused on the business at hand throughout, and they have dominated. They have dominated every phase, offense, defense, and their special teams. And here's DeVard Darling. He hasn't caught a ball since, I believe, the first quarter. He's out to the 45-yard line. Here's a young man with a wonderful future.
Wonderful story, wonderful future, and Washington State's not going to change their offense. They're going to throw the ball just like this next year. Going to be same type of offense, but change the trigger guy. But Washington State's been pretty good at finding trigger guys in their history, haven't they?
Yeah, Gary mentioned the story. His twin brother, Devon Darling, died while working out down at Florida State. DeVard was searching for a team. He knew one of the trainers at the New York Jets. One of Mike Price's sons is an assistant coach. He's due to move down to Tuscaloosa with him. He recommended, in fact, the trainer asked him, would your father be interested? And DeVard Darling wants to get away from there and just get away from home quite a ways. That's high to Darling. And DeVard said, yes, indeed. He would take a shot. He would go up to Pullman, and he has a great upside. Well, let's go to Jack.
Well, Brent, when Bob Stoops came to the Oklahoma program, he said the first thing I did was embrace all of the tradition. You heard him talk about the missing Rose Bowl trophy. He said he got a real treat this year when someone asked Barry Switzer, who Bob Stoops reminded him of. And Barry Switzer said, he reminds me of a young me. Bob Stoops says it's the best compliment he's ever received.
And Barry's here. I saw him down on the field before the game. Didn't get a chance to talk to him, but he's watching the Sooners. And Jason Gesser will scramble this one for a first down with 6:24 to go. Now, Gesser has thrown that touchdown pass in 24 consecutive games. He has 69 career touchdown passes at Washington State. That is 2 behind Carson Palmer for the number 3 spot in the Pac-10. Palmer, of course, the Heisman Trophy winner at USC. You'll see him on ABC tomorrow night when USC takes on Iowa. They're the leaders. John Elway, the all-time career leader, and why not? 77. Steve Stenstrom, another Stanford star, 2 behind that. Gesser had a chance to move up today, but so far he's being shut down. And 24 consecutive games is a long time. I believe it was Oregon, the last team, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was injured in that game. Speaking of Oregon, Ryan Leaf down on the field told our Jack Arute that Ryan's young brother Brady Leaf, who was a star up at Great Falls, Montana, Russell High School, has signed with Oregon. Signed last night. There is Ryan, who had a fine college career and a very disappointing NFL career, and he played at Great Falls at Russell High School. And Brady, like Ryan, a very big, talented high school quarterback. So we will see how that unfolds with the Ducks. Second down. Hit on the release. Riley again free, trying to keep the streak alive. Touchdown, he does. 25 consecutive games. Touchdown pass number 70. Jerome Riley, 37 years, and he has been the bright spot amongst the receivers for Gesser, as Mike Price tells him. Nice job.
Nice job. You got to feel good. How many chances you get to play in a Rose Bowl? You know, 1 maybe. You're real lucky. Come in injured, stuck with it, checked off, saw the audible that time. Oklahoma was coming with an all-out blitz. Stoops kept going at him, didn't want to give up any points. Would you say 13 straight quarters without a touchdown?
Yeah, that ends that streak.
Gesser gets it. One streak stays alive and one ends.
Dunning tacks on the extra.
I hope somebody gives him a shot in the National Football League.
Worth a look, and watch the effort here by number 84. Riley, who has shown us, tripped up, keeps his balance straight, trying to close in, can't. And it's a touchdown, but it's 27-7, and it's very late. Timeout. 16 completions today for Jason Gesser, and more than half have been by Riley. He has now caught 9 of Gesser's throws for 139 yards, and the Cougars touchdown. You can see his average today better than 15 yards.
You know, Riley didn't play against Ohio State.
Injured,
Washington
wasn't
State when I came there that day, and you know, Ohio State. I mean, Oklahoma is ready for the onside kick, and with 6 minutes to go in the football game, you almost got to give it a shot, don't you?
Adam Holiday. Boy, that defensive Oklahoma has been built for tough today. They're going to take a little deep. Try to see if they can stop Perkins and friends, and instead Perkins returns it all the way to the 35-yard. In between. Well, let's look back at our built for tough play of the game.
Yeah, and it was Teddy Lehman. Bad snap, sack here on Jason Gesser. Kind of a nutshell of what this game was all about. Gesser with a bad ankle, can't get out of the way. Teddy Lehman, not as only is he built tough, but he's built fast. That's a good combination. Put pressure, you get 5 sacks in a football game with those 2 great corners, Derek Strait and Andre Woolfolk. Nice defensive football team, and under 6 minutes to go, and a chance for Washington State's got to get a stop real quick, but I'm surprised they did not try onside kick there.
Inside handoff to Quentin Griffin out to the 40-yard line. He stands at 102 yards, and he'll add to it with a couple, and Pat Bennett making this stop. If we look back at the key moments in this game, a long field goal attempt. Number 17, Woolfolk blocked it. Blocked the field goal, and then the Sooners drove for their first touchdown. And it was the fade, and it got Savage matched against the linebacker, and it was no match at all. And Savage made the catch from Hibble, who has thrown 2 touchdown passes in this Rose Bowl game presented by PlayStation 2. Brent Musburger with Gary Danielson and Jack Arute. Nice to have you along with us. Brad Nessler, Bob Greasy will be coming up next from New Orleans.
Oh, man.
Sugar Bowl, and there's Quentin on that little quick cutback when he gets into the hole. The kind of move that will see this young man continue playing football.
Ira Davis, number 12, is going to say, have fun in the pros.
Now he's closing in on Billy Sims. Needs 36 more. 5 minutes to go. One long rush will do it. Just one long rush, and that includes Sims' mark against Nebraska in the Orange Bowl. Now
Billy,
Gary's probably pulling for Billy.
I'm helping you. I'm going to try to get him to.
I'm pulling, of course, for number 22.
Billy, I'm helping you. You helped me. Got me about 3 or 4 more years in the NFL by handing the ball off to him.
First down, yeah, it was a luxury.
There we go.
Oh, he gave a couple back. All right. Fred Chavies. Let's check in with Jack.
Well, Brent, you talk about Quentin Griffin and how low to the ground he is. He's a little low to the ground when he sets up his chess set as well. He never played chess until this year, but one of the trainers on OU staff taught him the game, and I asked him about it. He says, well, I don't play real well right now, but maybe I have a little time off in the offseason. I'll pick up the game. I don't think he's going to have a lot of time off. I think he's going to be kind of busy, don't you?
I suspect. 3 wide for Oklahoma here with 4 minutes to go. Here's the pitch out of the shotgun, and they go right back, and not much doing for Quentin that time. The defense ready. Eric Coleman, the safety from Spokane, up to make the stop.
Great open field tackle that time by Coleman. You can see Oklahoma trying to get him there. Let's go back to that run a couple plays ago. This is what Griffin does so well. Watch him come with the ball and make a guy miss. Whoop, whoop, whoop. There it is. Oh, man, Davis says didn't even touch, but they're playing flag football. He wouldn't even got a flag.
We'll take a break. Oklahoma with a 27-7 lead. Here at the Rose Bowl, presented by PlayStation 2. Reminder to stay tuned for the Built Ford Tough mid-game report featuring scores and highlights of all the bowl games that were played today. 3rd down and 9. Hibble will flare. Griffin, excellent receiver. Thrown down at the 44-yard line by Ira Davis.
You say excellent receiver, you're right. 144 catches coming into this football game for Griffin. You know, of course, a lot of those were those little shovel passes early with Josh Heupel. Remember the little screen passes when Heupel was there? It's a lot of catches.
You know, if you add up his bowl games
he is the leading receiver all time in the history of Oklahoma
Well, that's
football.
because until Stoops got here, the leading receiver was 3.
Are you saying that Barry and Bud didn't throw the ball down there in Norman? And,
Well,
here is Quentin Griffin today. 27 carries, Gary. 121 yards. And
no, I hadn't thought about what you said, but he may be a lot tougher to replace than Oklahoma realizes. He makes people miss, just like that play right here. He catches the ball. He blocks well. He's going to be tough to replace.
What a luxury to have a running back in college who never, ever turns the ball over.
Yes, that's a good point. He and Trent Smith are those two kind of difference makers that the average fan doesn't notice very much. I mean, yes, Griffin running the ball, but he does the little thing, doesn't turn it over, and Smith gets your first downs.
Are you looking forward to the NFL on Saturday, lad?
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been there. Do I get one of those good paychecks like I used to when I got there before?
You'll have to take that up with the executive producer of ABC Sports is Howard Katz. What a wonderful lead into the credits that you just gave me. Howard, Gary will be calling you this week. But thanks also to our senior producer, Bob Toms, and the coordinating producer of ABC's college football, Bob Goodrich. He produced today's game, directed by Larry Cam, who's done an outstanding job all season long. And did they get a piece of that one?
Yep. Yes, they did.
Yeah.
They called it. I don't know if they got a piece, but it was he got a piece of the kicker just as he let it go, and he did call it as a tipped kick.
And Ferguson able to get it out of there a little bit.
Ferguson made a good catch on this snap. It was very high, jumped up, that threw the timing off. Takes a step. Well, I don't know if it was shanked or what, but doesn't really make any difference. They called it a tip punt.
And a 14-yard punt. So here comes Jason Gesser again, and he will try to quickly lead them down, trailing by 20 points. There's DeVar Darling trying to pull away from straight, and he's thrown down. A few other folks who've done a wonderful job, and this is for the full year. Our associate producer, Drew Kaliski. He's put together these fine packages, and our associate director, Brian Fay, who outdid himself this week by looking back into the archives. And down goes Gesser again. And I mean, that was a crack by Jonathan Jackson.
Yeah.
They're calling it a fumble.
Gesser thought he was protected on the backside that time. You always account for the defensive end. This was not a hot. And boy, two guys close down on one guy, and all of a sudden your offensive line blows one, and your quarterback gets a mouthful helmet. You can see it. Gesser has his. That was a clean hit too. Jackson did a great job of keeping his head up and not spearing Gesser on the play. A very nice clean hit by Jackson.
Dvorak credited with recovering the fumble. And now Hibble and Oklahoma with Quentin Griffin. Made the most of that run back to the line of scrimmage, didn't he? And Ryan Long, number 88, the Outland Trophy winner right there.
Well, it's not like this Washington State defense is going to be decimated by graduation. They're only losing 3 players on defense. You know, they have a lot of people coming back. Trufant will be their toughest replacement. Cover corner, All-American at one position, but they have great defense coming back, and I think Bill Doba feels very good about the guys he's bringing back next year.
Second down for the Sooners. Ball inside the 25-yard line. There's that option look with the pitch out of the shotgun to Quentin. Down to the 20-yard line, Virgil Williams. Let me wrap up some more audio credits, and again, thanks really to our entire crew, the cameramen and everybody. It's a quick turnaround for most of this crew to go back to the Meadowlands, get ready for a huge game between the New York Jets, Indianapolis Colts. The first time that the Jets and the Colts have met in a playoff game since Super Bowl III, which arguably was the most important game in the history of the league. And the TD will be setting up things. Monty Poling, our production assistants, the Red Fox and the Sun Devil, who are about to be named, Chris Damiani and Marla Kiefler. I do that in hopes that they come back next year. Technical manager Mark Towie and Christy Brady. The production manager, and celebrating is Quentin Griffin, taking it into the end zone. 19 yards, and that probably
Well, we'll have to wait and see, but that well could be the last carry for Quentin Griffin. That puts him at 145 yards. And let me ask the truck, what was that number that he needed? That's very close to the Sims record here today.
Washington State came with an all-out blitz. All-out blitz that time. Picked up beautifully and scored it through. Oh, 11 yards.
11 yards to break it. Leaves him 11 yards shy, even when you add Billy's bowl record up. And Trey DiCarlo adding the extra point. And Quentin Griffin and the Sooners bring down the curtain on another sensational performance.
Yeah, you see the blitz right there, picked up wonderfully by Oklahoma. Make one guy miss in the secondary. This time it was Trufant, and he just walks into the end zone. And you know, no shame in being number 2 to Billy Sims. Billy Sims, no shame at all being number 2 to Billy Sims. One of the great running backs in college football history. Quentin Griffin and offensive line, you got to give a lot of credit to them. They were a finesse team a year ago. They changed completely. This team, good enough to beat anyone in the country. They might not, but they're good enough to do it.
Now a Rose Bowl trophy will be there in the Switzer Center for all to see. The upgrading of their stadium continuing, and Mike Price will pack up his double wide, move on down the road to Tuscaloosa and see what he could do with the Crimson Tide. We must, even though this has been a bad game, we have to give Price a lot of credit for what he did with the Washington State program. The school was very patient with him. We should also point that out. Many coaches would have been run out of other programs with the start that he had over there, but he was allowed to work, make his system work. Took this team to a couple of Rose Bowls in the last 5 years, and upgraded the facilities tremendously up there in Pullman. It's a wonderful place to go, and a nice small town environment. Players enjoy going up there and participating, and I'm sure that Bill Doba will just continue with it.
14 years of a labor of love, and he's turned it into a program that can win.
Here comes Moore, racing for the end zone. Sammy Moore, 89-yard touchdown at the Rose Bowl.
That's the play they needed about a quarter and a half ago. One of those plays to make it a ball game.
The junior from Mesa, Arizona. Coach Stoops says, now how can that happen against my special team? It just doesn't happen. What's going on?
We saw Jeremy Bloom do it from Colorado on an 80-yard punt return in the Big 12 championship, but usually their coverage teams, both kickoff and punt, are one of the best in the country. Well, you know, that means that they have a chance to put Griffin back in the game. Billy, I'm doing the best I can.
I mean, that's the extra point. Somebody called the Oklahoma bench. Needs 11 yards.
I know if I was Washington State, I know what I'd do by Mike Price. I'd put Gesser, if they get the ball back, I'd put Gesser to get him and take him out, bring in the backup, and kind of just let all the Washington State fans just kind of give a salute to one of the greatest players in Washington State history.
We now get official word that it's a dozen yards that Quentin Griffin would need for the single season rushing record. And certainly let me second what Gary had just said about Jason Gesser and the injuries that he has played with. 3-year captain, so popular with his teammates up there in Pullman. And you can just imagine a young man in sandals and shorts and a t-shirt getting off the airplane from Honolulu and walking down the street in Pullman and saying, this indeed is the place where I want to go to school. But he liked the offense.
Yep.
He liked Drew Bledsoe. He liked what had been accomplished by the Cougars passing game. There is Quentin Griffin, whose name now is up there with the legends, and the helmet is off. So it's not looking like he's going to get another crack. And I believe he was. I think Kevin might have even asked him if. Griffin. I think Griffin said no, that's enough. That would be great respect by the young man. Kevin's back over there now.
I don't know. Somebody, one of the linemen took his helmet off, but he goes, no, that's enough.
That's enough. Yeah, well, can't say enough about.
Here comes the onside kick.
About Quentin Griffin's performance throughout his career at Oklahoma. Down right there on the 44-yard line. Andre Woolfolk, who blocked that field goal and was a shutdown corner here today, and going to be a high first-round draft choice. A former wide receiver, has wonderful hands. He's got great catch-up speed. He knows how to play defensive back. He's just has a great future ahead of him. Going to be married, as I pointed out. The Oklahoma coaches rave about him, Gary. They say he's a solid citizen, good to be around, very pleasant. I don't know any negatives about the young
and he's just learning his position. I mean, his ceiling is so high. Here comes Paul Thompson in, the backup quarterback.
Now here's a young man I know you've enjoyed watching in practice, Gary. What kind of a style does Thompson have?
Very calm, very fluid. I don't know if we'll get to see him throw, but very calm, great athlete.
And he's handed off to Ronaldo Works, the junior from Tulsa.
Kind of had to burn his red shirt this year. It's nice that he's getting in the game. I mean, the plan was to redshirt him. Then you get the 2 injuries to Jason White and Rawls, the former #3 quarterback, and all of a sudden, the second quarterback on the team was a true freshman, and he had to get ready to play.
Great football tradition. About to add another feather in their cap. Here's Ronaldo. You know, there was a Bob Stoops' name, I think, was mentioned in some coaching rumors. I think it was maybe even the Jacksonville job. I don't know, but I will tell you that everybody that I talked to at Oklahoma seems to think that he's solid to stay here with the Sooners program, but he's not. Now I know a lot of things can change, so I never say never when it comes to coaches, and Bob Stoops today did nothing to damage his reputation as one of the best. I think that Stoops' staff, taken as an entire staff, is as good as any coaching staff that I've been around the college game in a long time.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The other thing I think is there was a little unfinished business here. We talked about that Iowa loss. 4 of those guys were on this staff. It's been 20 years. You know, he had that taste in his mouth. 20 years. Did he ever believe he'd have a chance to come back and finish 1-1 in the Rose Bowl? You know, and all of a sudden here pops up another opportunity. This was a very focused football team.
I think wasn't he a graduate assistant on another Iowa team that lost? Wasn't he 0-2?
That's right.
Think Bobby
well,
was
does unpaid graduate assistant count on the record?
Doesn't count, Bobby. We'll throw that one. Clock can't move fast enough when you're closing it out. And of course, we've got a post-game ceremony. Jack Arute be all over that at the end of the game. We'll find out who the MVP player is. I would guess Nate Hibble, but that's just a guess.
Could go either way, couldn't it?
Yeah, Quentin Griffin had a big day. Quentin, Quentin rushes for 144 yards, and the way that they're down there with him, it's going to be very close between Hibble and Griffin.
Yep.
So Bob Stoops takes a Rose Bowl trophy home to Norman, Oklahoma, and he does it with style. The fireworks now going off on the far side of the field. So congratulations to the Sooners. And ABC Sports is online at ESPN.com. Keyword ABC Sports. Stay tuned now for the Built Ford Tough mid-game report right after this message.
This is the Built Ford Tough Mid-Game Report, brought to you by Ford F-Series with the all-new Power Stroke Diesel.
Well, Oklahoma pulls it off in big fashion. First Rose Bowl championship for that outstanding program ever. 34-14 is the final. John Saunders alongside of Terry Bowden. They, of course, Oklahoma are loaded on defense coming next year, but they're going to miss Q. Quentin Griffin with a tremendous game.
That's exactly right. They're versatile off. It's the difference between them and Washington State. They can run the football, take the pressure off their quarterback, Nate Hibble. He has a great night because the defense is worried about Quentin Griffin. Jason Gesser, all he could do was take sack after sack after sack.
Mike Price, of course, now moves on. He'll become the coach at Alabama next year. Right about now, he's picking up the schedule and saying, who do I have next? Well, I got it one game and then, Oklahoma all over again.
Well, at least he knows what game plan not to use against Oklahoma next year. But, you know, you got to give a lot of credit to Oklahoma. Oklahoma made a statement tonight. They've got 10 starters back on defense. They've got a quarterback coming back. The staff's intact. I think they're thinking about national championship run next year.
Yeah, that's the only disappointment Oklahoma has for this year. Happy to be in the Rose Bowl, but felt they should have been playing for a national championship. Right now, let's go back out and join Jack Arute. Jack.
We're on the presentation platform along with Amy Blair, the Director of Marketing for Sony Computer Entertainment, and Gary Thomas, the President of the Tournament of Roses Parade. And Gary, it's time to present the MVP trophy.
Nate Abel, congratulations, player of the game. Outstanding ball game, bud.
Thank you, sir. I can't say enough about my teammates. To go out like this just means everything to me. And I think we brought half the state with us, and they meant everything to us. Boomer Sooner.
Nate, when the season started, you were running on the pond. You were riding the pond, and now you're the MVP. What a great senior season.
Yes, sir. To come around full circle like this, I couldn't have written it any better. And I got to thank my parents and my brother and the rest of my family for being with me through thick and thin, and my coaches and my players. And I feel so tremendously blessed right now.
And Gary, it's now time to present the Leishman Trophy.
Let's go to the Leishman.
Never in the history of Oklahoma football has it been to the Switzer Center, and now to accept the presentation is the head coach, Bob Stoops. It's all yours.
Coach Stoops, I am extremely proud and pleased to present you with the Rose Bowl trophy. Let's see if we can get this up and off. There you are. Congratulations, Oklahoma.
Along with your athletic director, Joe Castiglione. Okay, Coach, you said you were missing one of these at the Switzer Center. Now you got it. Congratulations.
I promise you, we've got a lot of championship trophies, 7 national championship trophies, and all over the place, but we don't have a Rose Bowl trophy. And it's been fabulous being here. It's everything it's billed to be, but winning the game makes it really special.
Congratulations, Coach.
Thank you.
Let's go back upstairs.
All right, Jack, thank you. Excellent job down there with the presentation. Gary, I think all we can say, it was a class job by Oklahoma, the coaching staff and their players. We had the pleasure of being around them a lot this season, and they are one of the best.
Yeah, it always feels good for a guy who was criticized like Nate, able to come, stick to it, and kind of survive and then conquer.
Oh, exactly. So there you have it. Oklahoma comes to the Rose Bowl and goes home with the trophy. Let's send you to John and Terry.